Chapter 1707. A huge battle could break out at any moment. As Xiao Qin held up the tyrant saber, he did not show any intention of explaining. Sometimes, many people just needed an excuse. An excuse that they could use to deal with others. An excuse that they could use to their advantage. Given Wang Yueming and Zhen Yuan's experience, it was impossible for them not to see that the black lotus that suddenly appeared on Xiao Qin's body was very strange. Just this point and the confession of a new profound Light Temple disciple could not prove that Xiao Qin was a Black Lotus Church member. However, that did not matter. Wang Yueming could use this favorable excuse to snatch away the Dao tool. To him, this was the best. He could use this excuse to get Zhen Yuan to interrogate Xiao Qin and force out the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber techniques saber manual. This would not arouse any suspicion. Zhen Yuan only said that he could use any means to pry out a Black Lotus Church disciple's confession. As for whether Xiao Qin was a Black Lotus Church disciple or not, it was not that important. Xiao Qin's heart was as clear as a mirror. When he saw Zhen Yuan hypocritically ask him if he wanted to explain, he directly rejected it. Zhen Yuan clearly saw that Xiao Qin's identity as a Black Lotus Church member was suspicious, yet he kept pressing him, putting on a hypocritical act to get him to explain. The more Xiao Qin tried to explain, the more he would appear guilty. It would not be useful. This was because Wang Yueming and Zhen Yuan already firmly believed that Xiao Qin was a Black Lotus Church member. How could they really listen to his explanation? Hypocrite, fake monk, and scheming? Xiao Qin did not believe that the two of them were willing to risk their lives and dare to take a step forward. When Wang Yueming and Zhen Yuan saw Xiao Qin pressing forward with an indomitable will, showing that he would rather die in glory than live in dishonor, they showed grave expressions, no longer as overbearing as before. They did not dare to take a step forward where the saber pointed. That was the line of life and death that Xiao Qin set. Brother Zhen Yuan, you are not just slightly stronger than me. Furthermore, this fellow is a sworn enemy of your Buddhist sect. I am willing to cooperate with you. Wang Yueming stared at Xiao Qin, looking for openings. At the same time, he sent a voice projection to praise Zhen Yuan. Zhen Yuan locked on to Xiao Qin. When he heard that, he could not help smiling coldly. Indeed, Zhen Yuan did not fear Xiao Qin. If there were no one here, he would have charged forward without any fear. However, there were too many people here. Furthermore, Wang Yueming was here. How could he take the risk? Even if Xiao Qin defeated Xiao Qin, he would end up helping Wang Yueming. How could he be careless? This Wang Yueming's calculations were really good. Naturally, Zhen Yuan would not fall for this trick and suffer. He replied, "Let's attack together. He cannot injure both of us with one move. He can only injure one of us at the same time, and then he will be crippled." Wang Yueming said coldly, "I don't like to gamble. If it were me, I would definitely use this move on someone weaker." Behind them, the Black Lotus sect Holy Son, who had been smiling with a smug look in his eyes, suddenly showed a grave expression. Unexpectedly, Xiao Qin's aura stunned the two strongest outstanding talents of the Grave Sea. This is indeed a small place. It cannot compare to people who have experienced countless life and death situations. No matter how strong they are, even with such boldness, they are just trash in the end. They are not even comparable to the unconscious Shangguan Lei. Ming Xian snorted coldly in his heart, showing deep disdain and contempt for Zhen Yuan and Wang Yueming. In Ming Xian's opinion, if these two had Shangguan Lei's boldness, they would have taken down this Xiao Qin long ago. There was no need to put in so much effort. In the end, he still had to make a move. Black Lotus secret technique, world eliminating imprint, exterminating all life. Xiao Qin held his index and middle fingers together and formed a hand seal with one hand. The string of seemingly black Buddhist prayer beads dangled between his two fingers. Without any movement, he ferociously pushed it forward. Boom! A force equal to a cloud sea star venerate's casual strike appeared out of nowhere. Caught off guard, Zhen Yuan and Wang Yueming did not have time to turn around by the time they sensed it. A force equal to a star venerate's, containing the will of soul, surged over like a wave. The force immediately knocked Zhen Yuan and Wang Yueming into the air, their bodies in intense pain like they were falling apart. Their souls trembled, and they felt dizzy. The world spun around, and their souls swayed in their bodies. After they fell to the ground, they could not get up. His body and soul were both heavily injured by this attack. It was like a star venerate attacking. Caught off guard, the two were instantly injured to the point where they could not continue fighting. This was especially so for the Confucian institution's Wang Yueming. His physical body was not as strong as Zhen Yuan's. Intense pain covered his entire body, making it hard for him to even turn around. The scarier thing was that the shock to his soul could not recover in a short time. Zhen Yuan's indestructible iron body blocked out half of the damage from this move. His physical injuries were much lighter than Wang Yueming's. However, the damage to his soul made him feel incredible pain. He barely managed to get up and revealed an extremely shocked expression as he looked at the Black Lotus sect Holy Sun. However, that was all. Right now, Zhen Yuan could not deal any damage to the Holy Sun Mingxian. As for Wang Yueming, he was still in so much pain that he could not even raise his head to look up. 2 pieces of trash. The Holy Sun Mingxian said with deep disdain. Then his figure soared into the air and charged toward Xiao Chen, who had just dealt with the shockwaves, without hesitation. This time, you won't be as lucky as last time. The Black Lotus Church sage no longer held back, unleashing his full power. The Holy Sun Mingxian's entire body radiated a terrifying black Buddhist light. An expressionless, cold black Buddha image appeared behind him. The Black Lotus Church also believed in Buddhism. However, their interpretation of the ancient Buddhist scriptures differed from the orthodox ones. The Buddha they believed in was the same as the orthodox Buddhism, the Kasyapa Buddha. But in their eyes, the true body of the Kasyapa Buddha was like this. He was expressionless and cold, looking down on all life. He was known as the revered Black Lotus. Humans are born evil, and their 7 emotions and 6 desires are all sins. Kasyapa Buddha had no compassion. Those who believed in him could reduce their sins and enjoy reincarnation. Those who didn't believe in him were willing to fall into depravity. Their sins would reach the heavens and they would never be able to reincarnate. The appearance of the Black Buddhist voice immediately exposed the Holy Sun Mingxian's identity. This was a result that no one could have imagined. Who could have imagined that Mingxian, who righteously pointed at Xiao Chen and said that he was a pawn of the Black Lotus Church, was the true Black Lotus Church disciple? However, it was too late. Wang Yueming and Zhen Yuan were severely injured. The others were not strong enough, unable to interfere in the battle between the Holy Sun Mingxian and Xiao Chen. They could only watch from afar. Xiao Chen possessed 2 kinds of great Tao energy, the Thunder Tao and the Saber Tao. Then he used the army-breaking saber technique to fight the Holy Sun Mingxian. The army-breaking saber technique focused on pressing forward with indomitable will, which was similar to the Tyrant Saber. The Tyrant Saber contained the Thunder Tao. However, the tyrannical nature of the Tyrant Saber would not change. It could strengthen the aura of the Thunder Tao. Similarly, it could strengthen the compatible army-breaking saber technique. As Xiao Chen faced the mysterious and strong Black Lotus Church sage, he remained calm. Previously, due to his cultivation being limited, he could not clash head-on with the other party. Now that he obtained the Tyrant Saber, it was the right time. The other party's identity was exposed, and Xiao Chen held the home ground. He had the geographical advantage, and his cultivation broke through. The right time, the right place, and the right people, all 3 were present. He could clash head-on with the other party. Xiao Chen brought out the techniques of the Saber Tao to the fullest. Back at the Buddha-seeking platform, the other party had dared to rely on his cultivation and physical body to look down on Xiao Chen's attacks. Now, the other party no longer dared to be so careless. After exchanging 100 moves to his heart's content, the Holy Sun Mingxian was shocked to discover that he did not hold the upper hand at all. That's all you are capable of? Black Lotus Church Sage, you are only Xiao Chen raised his saber and switched from defense to offense. He roared, sounding like a dragon roaring in the surroundings and like thunder shaking the 9 heavens. The Tyrant Saber in Xiao Chen's hand merged 2 kinds of great Tao energy as he executed army breaking. With the Tyrant Saber in hand, its surging aura seemed solid. With a gentle raise, It was like a tyrant appeared, ruling over the world. One saber strike could destroy an army, piercing through the 9 heavens above the clouds. The holy Sun Mingxian frowned slightly. He could not forcefully attack, and his momentum had already weakened. Now was not the best time to clash head-on with Xiao Chen. With a thought, the holy Sun Mingxian thought of a plan and quickly retreated. Break! Xiao Chen leaped into the air, gaining the upper hand in his aura. His expression turned grave and stern as he smoothly executed army breaking. The previous saber strike pierced through the clouds, and stars appeared in the sky. Bathed in the brightest starlight, the saber light piercing the eyes. Then, Xiao Chen continued advancing. The holy Sun Mingxian landed on the ground. As he held the Buddhist prayer beads in his hand, he calmly executed hand seals and knocked away the saber light and saber might attacking him. Black lotuses appeared under Xiao Chen's feet. With every step he took, a lotus bloomed. Xiao Chen advanced ferociously, materializing his flawless saber Dao to its limits. The saber light in his hand flashed continuously. It was like the starlight, like the moon setting, like the sun rising, like the cold winter snow, like the warm spring light, like the merciless autumn wind. The tyrant saber in Xiao Chen's hand changed continuously. However, it was connected smoothly, like he was telling a story. This exquisite saber skill stunned the various sect disciples in the surroundings. All of them sighed in amazement as if he was a celestial being. When Zhen Yuan, who barely managed to sit up and treat his injuries, saw this scene, he stopped his cultivation technique and was stunned. Just based on this saber skill, Xiao Chen was qualified to be mentioned in the same breath as Zhen Yuan. No wonder back then, when Xiao Chen pointed his saber at Zhen Yuan and Wang Yueming felt like there was a line between life and death. Indeed, Xiao Chen had the strength to make those who crossed that line pay a heavy price. Death was not excluded. What Zhen Yuan said was not a joke. When the holy Sun Mingxian faced this exquisite saber skill, he could always resolve it. His strength was truly admirable. If it were them, how could they make out so many of Xiao Chen's saber skills? However, in the end, Xiao Chen's saber skills were stronger than the holy Sun Mingxian's palm technique. After 300 moves, Xiao Chen finally found a major opening, causing the holy Sun Mingxian's expression to change drastically. Breaking the world. Relying on the aura from the 300 moves, Xiao Chen used breaking the world to find an opening and hacked at the holy Sun Mingxian. The holy Sun Mingxian could no longer retreat. He formed another dermic hand seal, and scriptures echoed in the surroundings. Then, he stretched out his hand and gently raised it. The scriptures gathered, and the space around him continuously rose, becoming like a Buddhist spiritual mountain. The saber light tore through the layers of barriers. The two Dao might merged and tore a hole in the holy Sun Mingxian's tight defense. The tyrant's saber chopped at the holy Sun Mingxian's shoulder, trying to chop him in half. This scene was similar to when Xiao Chen first fought with the holy Sun Mingxian. By feigning weakness, the holy Sun Mingxian severely injured Xiao Chen with one strike. Would the same result happen again? Whoosh! Just as the tyrant saber was about to strike the holy Sun Mingxian, the Black Lotus Sect's Buddha image in the sky suddenly shrank. Then, it shrank and gathered on the holy Sun Mingxian's body. The holy Sun Mingxian's physical body immediately changed, becoming like a black sculpture. Xiao Chen's tyrant saber landed on the holy Sun Mingxian's shoulder. Crack, crack. Cracks appeared on the black sculpture, which quickly peeled off, revealing the Black Lotus Sect's true appearance. The broken statue had negated most of the saber's power. When the saber landed again, it could only enter by 1 centimeter, stuck by the holy Sun Mingxian's shoulder. History repeated itself. The holy Sun Mingxian vomited a mouthful of blood. This time, the force of the saber strike was much stronger than before. Even though the holy Sun Mingxian blocked most of it, he could not avoid sustaining significant injuries. The holy Sun Mingxian's complexion paled, but he smiled widely. You fell for the same trick twice. Xiao Chen, you are really stupid. Soul-destroying eye. The holy Sun Mingxian's forehead opened, and a vertical eye appeared. The vertical eye flickered with a sinister light, giving off a soul-trembling aura. Now, the Holy Sun Ming-Xian's meticulous plan finally started to pull in the net. He used the soul-destroying eye, a powerful killing move, to severely injure Xiao Chen's soul. Is that so? In that case, you will be disappointed. Dragon Blood Soul Breaking Finger. Just as the sinister light gathered in the vertical eye and looked like it would shoot out, a scarlet light appeared on Xiao Chen's left index finger as he moved at lightning speed, tapping the Holy Sun Ming-Xian's forehead. Before the Holy Sun Ming-Xian could execute the soul-destroying eye, he cried out in pain as Xiao Chen's finger knocked him into the air. The Holy Sun Ming-Xian was not the only one who could set up a trap when two experts met. Chapter 1708. Dragon Blood Soul Breaking Finger. Xiao Chen moved later but arrived first, sending the Holy Sun Ming-Xian flying with a finger strike. After the Holy Sun Ming-Xian landed, his pale complexion turned even more unsightly. The might of the soul-destroying eye rebounded, and the Dragon Blood Soul Breaking Finger detonated in the depths of his soul. He felt like his soul was about to scatter, his physical body and soul slowly separating. The Holy Sun Ming-Xian's thoughts slowly blurred. At the critical moment, he crushed the Buddhist prayer beads in his hand. After Xiao Chen's attack succeeded, he did not hesitate to swing the saber in his hand. Electric light spread out, and the tyrant saber suddenly descended like a bolt of lightning, carrying unparalleled force as it stabbed into the Holy Sun Ming-Xian's chest. Boom! The Holy Sun Ming-Xian, who had just crushed the Buddhist prayer beads, was already in a life-and-death situation. Before he could do anything, the tyrant's saber struck him. There was a loud sound, and the energy in the tyrant's saber exploded. Boundless electric light burst out from that area, kicking up a cloud of dust. When the dust settled, only a charred body remained, devoid of any aura of life. Xiao Chen still did not feel assured. He leaped into the air and withdrew the tyrant's saber. Then he stomped down. Their charred bodies were like brittle bones. Crunching noises could be heard as they were stepped on. It was a complete mess. This fellow died just like that? Xiao Chen looked at the charred ground. The Holy Sun Ming-Xian's corpse had already turned into a pile of mush. Xiao Chen was in some disbelief. However, whether he believed it or not, there was nothing he could do. He could not find any trace of the other party at all. Xiao Chen also felt incredibly fatigued. His entire body felt weak, and cold sweat trickled down his back. He had won this battle by a hair's breadth. If not for the other party being careless and trying to use tricks to defeat him, Xiao Chen would not have expected the other party to have a Soul Dao martial technique as well. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen also had a Soul Dao martial technique. Even so, he ended up falling for it. Even so, it was hard to say who would win. Even so, Xiao Chen's victory was not easy. Everyone saw exquisite saber techniques, ever-changing saber moves that flowed like clouds and water. These were not moves that could be executed easily and without using one's brain. They exhausted a large amount of veritable essence energy and mental energy. Xiao Chen glanced coldly at Zhen Yuan and Wang Yueming. The Holy Sun Ming-Xian's sneak attack on these two was very miserable. Caught off guard, they were struck by the world-eliminating imprint. It was not a good feeling. Back then, Xiao Chen had tried to defend, and the Black Lotus Church sage had held back. Even so, he had been heavily injured by the World Annihilation Seal. Wang Yueming and Zhen Yuan had faced the sneak attack of the World Annihilation Seal at full power. One could well imagine the severity of their injuries. Serves him right for bringing this upon himself. Xiao Chen cursed in his heart. Then, without even looking at the two, he picked up the tyrant saber and fled far away. Zhen Yuan's expression sank. He, who had been recovering rapidly, could already stand up with great difficulty. The injuries to his physical body had mostly recovered. However, the injuries to his soul could not be healed in a short time. His complexion was still unsightly. He could only watch as Xiao Chen calmly left after the great battle. From then on, one of the Blessed Enclave's 3 great experts fainted, another fell to the ground and couldn't get up, and the last one couldn't fight even if he got up. This solution was directly or indirectly related to Xiao Chen. Who was the greatest dark horse in this fiendish demon battlefield? It was definitely Xiao Chen. After this, The name of the white-robed Xiaochen would spread far and wide, spreading throughout the entire grave sea. 3 days later, an irresistible will appeared and forcibly dragged the recuperating Xiaochen out of the fiendish demon battlefield. After defeating the Black Lotus Church sage, no one sought trouble for him. Xiaochen obtained the Tao tool, the Buddha-seeking platform, the many rare Buddhist sect plants, and the precious earthen fire golden lotus. Xiaochen was not in the mood to seek out other fortuitous encounters. He spent the next 3 days treating his injuries. He made sure not to leave any hidden injuries. Then, he quietly waited for time to run out. After 3 days, Xiaochen completely recovered from his injuries and returned to his peak. Be it his physique, physical body, or spirit, they all reached an unprecedented height. Defeating Shangguan Lei and the Black Lotus Church Holy Sun invisibly increased Xiaochen's aura and luck. After leaving the fiendish demon battlefield, Xiaochen turned his head back to look. The floating island slowly sank to the bottom of the sea. The next opening of the fiendish demon battlefield would be another 20 years later. This trip was pretty good. I managed to scavenge some resources, enough for me to advance my cultivation in advance. Everyone more or less gained something as they discussed excitedly. Martial Uncle, congratulations on obtaining the Tao tool. In this fiendish demon battlefield, Martial Grand Uncle really brought glory to our Purple Flame sect. Even Shangguan Lei lost to our Martial Grand Uncle. The Purple Flame sect disciples in the crowd quickly flew over to Xiaochen's side and congratulated him. Hua Yunfeng arrived late. He glanced at Xiaochen and smiled sincerely. I am truly ashamed of my inferiority in this fiendish demon battlefield. I am truly sorry for not fulfilling my responsibilities as the top true inheritor. Later, Hua Yunfeng heard that Wang Yueming and Zhen Yuan made things difficult for Xiaochen, while he led his disciples to take advantage of the situation to scavenge resources. Hua Yunfeng felt somewhat apologetic. Fortunately, Xiaochen managed to leave in the end. Furthermore, he defeated Shangguan Lei and the Black Lotus Church Holy Sun. Xiaochen said quickly, Brother Hua, you are too polite. Without your help, it would have been impossible for me to obtain the Tao tool. No matter what, I will definitely remember this favor. After saying that, Xiaochen took out all the rare Buddhist sect flowers and herbs he obtained on Buddha-seeking mountain, aside from the earthly fire golden lotus. Among them, the 20 white jasmine flowers were the most precious. They were one of the Buddhist sect's 5 trees and 6 flowers. They could directly increase one's cultivation and cleanse one's veritable essence energy. There was no market for them in the outside world. One could not buy them even if one wanted to. They were so expensive that one would find them unbearably heavy. Hua Yunfeng had not expected Xiaochen to be so generous, spending money to such an extent. He simply treated the white jasmine flowers like cabbages. I simply cannot reject the white jasmine flowers. I will take 5 and give the rest to the sect disciples. Everyone will gain something. Hua Yunfeng did not try to be pretentious. Right after he spoke, the many Purple Flame sect disciples all smiled. Many thanks, Martial Grand Uncle. Many thanks, Senior Brother Hua. On this side, the Purple Flame sect disciples were all incredibly happy. They had already gained a lot in the first place. Now they even received such a huge gift. Who would not be happy? On the other side, the disciples of the Divine Firmament sect, the Confucian institution, and the Padala mountain showed unsightly expressions. Benefactor Xiao, we offended you in the fiendish demon battlefield. In the future, we will definitely pay you a visit to apologize. Zhen Yuan led the profound Light Temple disciples over and bowed in greeting. Before Xiaochen could say anything, Hua Yunfeng's expression turned serious. He said, Zhen Yuan, you are really bold. Brother Xiao is my Purple Flame sect's senior Yi Zifeng's junior brother. He is the Spring Snow Bladesman Pan Huang's disciple. To think that you wrongly accused him of being a Black Lotus Church disciple. I will personally speak to the sect master about this. The moment Hua Yunfeng said that, he immediately caused a huge commotion. The expressions of the various sect disciples as they looked at Xiaochen changed drastically. To think that he is Pan Huang's disciple. This was truly unexpected. Zhen Yuan was strong and held a high position. However, in the fiendish demon battlefield, Zhen Yuan publicly attacked Xiao Chen and threatened to clean up the heretics. That was a grave mistake. The more serious thing was that the one who framed him was a Black Lotus Church disciple. That was even worse. When Zhen Yuan returned to the temple, he would not be able to avoid punishment. Zhen Yuan's expression changed slightly. He felt very sullen in his heart, but he endured it. He said softly, "This time I was tricked by a demon. I will definitely take responsibility. After I return to the temple, I will take the initiative to ask for punishment. I will definitely give benefactor a satisfactory apology for the trouble I caused this time. Goodbye." Zhen Yuan did not want to apologize in his heart. However, he had no choice. The Buddhist sect's rules were the strictest. Unless Zhen Yuan gave up on his Buddhist sect martial techniques and left the Profound Light Temple, he would have to apologize and put on a show so that the Profound Light Temple could provide an explanation to the Purple Flame sect. As Xiao Chen watched the other party leave, he thought to himself, this Zhen Yuan is really tolerant. In the fiendish demon battlefield, he was clearly very unlucky. However, when he came out, he could swallow his anger and apologize. I cannot underestimate this person. I have to pay attention to him in the future. As Hua Yunfeng watched Zhen Yuan leave, he said to Xiao Chen, "Don't worry. Sects have their own rules. This Zhen Yuan made a huge mistake. When he returns to the temple, he will definitely be punished. My Purple Flame sect can at least do that for you." Based on Hua Yunfeng's tone, he did not intend to let this matter rest. Xiao Chen could only repeat this in his heart. The evils he brought upon himself were the hardest to bear. Xiao Chen. As the two chatted casually and prepared to rush back to the sect, a resonant voice rang out. It was Shangguan Lei, who had mostly recovered from his injuries. Aside from Zhen Yuan, the person who was the most sullen in the fiendish demon battlefield was Shangguan Lei. After forcefully advancing to peak Major Primal Core Realm, he did not show off for long before Xiao Chen knocked him unconscious with one saber strike, losing all his reputation. Given Shangguan Lei's character, this matter dealt an even heavier blow to him than killing him. Shangguan Lei looked at Xiao Chen with dissatisfaction. Then, he said coldly, "You merely used the might of a Dao tool to defeat me by half a move. Do you have the guts to put down your Dao tool and fight me again? Right here, in front of everyone, let's have a fair fight." A sore loser was a perfect description for people like Shangguan Lei. Shangguan Lei's words were funny and infuriating at the same time. After Xiao Chen heard that, he could not help feeling speechless. Then, he said indifferently, "Sure. Lower your cultivation to peak Minor Primal Core Realm, and I'll have a fair fight with you." Shangguan Lei roared, "Coward! My cultivation was tempered step by step through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Your cultivation is not high, and you did not work hard. Can you blame me for having a high cultivation? Interesting. Could it be that my Dao tool fell from the sky?" Xiao Chen could not help smiling coldly in his heart. He said seriously, "I did indeed rely on a Dao tool to defeat you. However, so what? Just like your cultivation tempered step by step through mountains of corpses and seas of blood, I barely managed to subdue this Dao tool of mine. If you are not convinced, you can go and find a Dao tool. I'll keep you company at any time. Don't humiliate yourself here and make a fool of yourself. Weapons and armor have always been a part of a cultivator's strength." Shangguan Lei was originally filled with resentment. Now that Xiao Chen's rude words added fuel to the fire, he became even angrier. However, Xiao Chen now had a Dao tool. He was not a match for Shangguan Lei at all, and he could not do anything about it. Good. Shangguan Lei was so angry that his entire body trembled. After saying, "Good," 3 times, he flicked his sleeves and left. The Purple Flame sect disciples watched as Shangguan Lei, who was normally unparalleled in the Black Cave Mountain, left in such a sullen manner. All of them felt delighted in their hearts. Hua Yunfeng smiled and said, "Unexpectedly, Shangguan Lei has such a day. Come, let's return to the sect." Chapter 1709. Xiao Chen did not dare to tarry. After he took his leave of the group, he quickly headed for the summit. Right now, the most important thing was to raise his strength and properly digest the fortuitous encounters he obtained in the fiendish demon battlefield. It turns out that there really is a Tianwu dynasty in the Central Great Realm. Xiaochen could not help but recall. The descendant of the Kunlun realm's Tianwu dynasty, Chu Chaoyun. The Tianwu dynasty. It was extremely rare for the sect master to personally receive a disciple returning from the fiendish demon battlefield. Xiaochen's senior brother got injured because of him. Now that he could profit from this disaster, it was simply great. Where are we going? The instant the Black Lotus formed, the Black Lotus Church Holy Son appeared in it, panting heavily. His complexion looked extremely weak. However, senior brother, your injuries. Xiaochen frowned slightly. Yi Zifeng had fought with the Black Lotus Church Venerate and got injured, causing his cultivation to drop by 1 grade. The Tyrant Saber is a Dao tool that I obtained in the 10,000 Weapon Pavilion. What should I do? Xiaochen asked sincerely. How dangerous? I nearly died in this fiendish demon battlefield. When the Purple Flame Sect's sect master received the news, he personally led the sect elders to the foot of the mountain to welcome Xiaochen's group. Xiaochen nodded silently. However, great waves surged in his heart. He was incredibly shocked. After Yi Zifeng's pointers, Xiaochen seemed to have comprehended something and thought of something. This was a huge blow to the Divine Firmament sect. This was especially so for defeating Shangguan Lei. To the Purple Flame sect, this was a joyous matter. After chatting for a while, just as they were about to take their leave, Xiaochen asked, Senior brother, if I want to go to the Central Great Realm to look for you in the future, where should I go? In the following days, Xiaochen was very busy, familiarizing himself with the Tyrant Saber in his hand. Next was his cultivation. He needed to temper it properly to stabilize his current cultivation. Perhaps it was to seek refuge, to explore, or just out of pure boredom. When Xiaochen heard that, he found it slightly strange. This was because his senior brother did not seem to crave power. The feeling he gave was one of indifference and lack of desire. Yi Zifeng did not find Xiaochen's expression strange. You have never seen a true saber expert before. The Grave Sea cluster ranks within the top 100 of the many clusters of the Great Thousand Realms. However, compared to the Central Great Realm, it is not even worth mentioning. There is not a single saber expert of the same generation as you. Xiaochen cupped his fists and said, Sect leader Duan is too kind. One's luck waned while the other grew. For a long time, the Divine Firmament sect had suppressed the Purple Flame sect to the point of suffocation. After this, the situation would definitely change. After a long time, the Black Lotus carried him into the sky, flying towards the starry sky. He had to return to the Black Lotus to recuperate. As a complete saber technique, the army-breaking saber technique was more suitable for the Tyrant Saber. Hearing this, Yi Zifeng was stunned. The Central Great Realm's 4 eternal dynasties were established by the great desolate bloodline noble clans to resist the sections. The Tianwu dynasty was established by the ancient royal clan, the Chu clan. There is no need for you to ask about this. In the future, when you go to the Central Great Realm, you will know about it. Yi Zifeng had been waiting for a long time. Seeing him arrive, he raised his head slightly and gestured for him to sit down. A sharp light flashed in the Black Lotus Holy Son's eyes as Xiaochen's figure appeared in his mind. He wished that he could tear Xiaochen to shreds and take out the demonic bone relic. Flashy but impractical? Xiaochen was slightly surprised. This was the first time he heard someone say that his saber skills were flashy but impractical. Xiaochen used this saber to materialize the various saber techniques that he knew. Among them, the army-breaking saber technique was the main one, with the flawless saber technique as support. The sect leader of the Purple Flame sect was called Duanya. He was an old man dressed in gray. His aura was withdrawn, causing others to be unable to see through him. Yi Zifeng said honestly, Originally, I should not have come looking for you when you just returned from the fiendish demon battlefield. However, I need to now. I'll be leaving the Purple Flame sect tomorrow. Yi Zifeng smiled faintly as he emitted a trace of his aura. There were also some things that Xiaochen could not do in the past because he was not strong enough. Now that he had advanced to the Primal Core realm, he could try them. The Chu clan, Chu Chaoyun. It looks like this is not a coincidence. The army-breaking saber technique that Xiao Chen practiced was modified from their 1,000 army sword technique. Now, it was a completely different martial technique. It had to be said that this was a pleasant surprise. Yi Zifeng continued, I'm leaving tomorrow. So, if you have any requests, you can tell me now. If I can help, senior brother will do his best. Duanya did not say anything more. He smiled and said, You go first. Martial uncle has been waiting for you for a long time already. Later, I'll discuss with the elders how to reward you. Shaking his head, Xiao Chen stopped thinking about this. Senior brother is looking for me? However, Xiao Chen knew that this sect leader had been a late-stage Starry Sky realm cultivator for many years and was exceptionally strong. Senior brother, who established the Tianwu dynasty? Xiao Chen asked. However, since Yi Zifeng said this, it clearly made sense and would not be without evidence. Purple Flame Sect, Yi Zifeng returned the saber to Xiao Chen. Then, he entered deep thought and said, Your attainments in the saber technique are very deep. However, it gives me the feeling that it is flashy but impractical. When Xiao Chen heard that, he felt stunned. These words were too familiar. Xiao Chen had fallen from Holy Venerate to Peak Star Venerate. Just after Xiao Chen, Hua Yunfeng, and the others returned to the sect, Xiao Chen did not know where Chu Chaoyun was. Aside from the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva, Xiao Chen and Chu Chaoyun had left the Kunlun realm, the central great realm. After a pause, Yi Zifeng continued, Your saber technique is exquisite, and your comprehension ability is startling. However, when you draw your saber, it does not feel heavy or steady. Yi Zifeng did not know why he made such a change. Xiao Chen asked probingly, Senior brother, why are you going to the central great realm? Why is senior brother in such a rush to find me? Xiao Chen asked in a rush. Xiao Chen stepped forward and handed the tyrant saber to Yi Zifeng with both hands. Yi Zifeng calmly said 4 words. If what senior brother said is true, then the Tianwu emperor who established the Tianwu dynasty in the Sky Dome realm must have been an expert of the central great realm's Chu clan. The upper echelon of the Divine Shield army probably could not tell. On the calm surface of the sea, there were bursts of bubbling. The Black Lotus sage felt a lingering fear. If he had not crushed the Buddhist prayer beads at the last moment, he would have died. A holy venerate? Be it obtaining a Dao tool or suppressing the Divine Firmament sect disciples, he had raised the Purple Flame sect's luck. You truly live up to being Martial Uncle Ye's junior brother. The sect is truly fortunate to have you. After about 7 minutes, the group arrived at the summit, where the 7-colored clouds shrouded the summit. After saying goodbye to his senior brother and returning to his courtyard, Xiao Chen still could not calm down. Such a situation had rarely happened in the history of the Purple Flame sect. Xiao Chen felt embarrassed in his heart. How could he still have the face to make any requests? Yi Zifeng had simply helped him too much. Yi Zifeng said softly, Find more experts of the same generation to exchange pointers with. You need to find experts of the same generation who are truly evenly matched in terms of saber techniques. You still have to rely on yourself to comprehend these things. After activating the Immortal Seal, it might really be possible for Xiao Chen to fall in the Fiendish Demon battlefield. The Tyrant Saber was one of the biggest gains in the Fiendish Demon battlefield. Yi Zifeng narrowed his eyes as he looked at the saber in Xiao Chen's hand. Your saber. With the two combined, Xiao Chen felt that he could bring out 20% of the Tyrant Saber's strength. Breaking through to sovereign personage in this grave sea is practically impossible. Only by entering the Central Great Realm will there be a chance. Yi Zifeng nodded. That's right. I was injured by the Black Lotus sect venerate, but I never felt depressed. This is because I know that fortune and disaster are hard to determine. This is not a bad thing for me. When you entered the Fiendish Demon battlefield, an old friend came to visit and brought you an item. Not only did you recover from your injuries, but your strength also improved. Many thanks, senior brother. However, junior brother had some fortuitous encounters in the Fiendish Demon battlefield. The Black Lotus mark in my body was also completely removed, so I do not have any other requests for now. Yi Zifeng held the Tyrant Saber and felt it. Then he nodded slightly. Good saber. It is a superior grade Dao tool. Although it contains only one kind of thunder Dao, it is very compatible with the word tyrant. The two are naturally compatible. The thunder Dao walks the path of tyranny, ferocity, and decisiveness. It is simple, direct, and efficient. However, don't stray from the right path. Otherwise, you will end up like that divine firmament sex saber fanatic. Yi Zifeng's cultivation had also dropped from peak major primal core realm to peak minor primal core realm. Shao Chen said sincerely, "Congratulations, senior brother." Finally, there was the Earthen Fire Golden Lotus. After he absorbed the Earthen Fire Golden Lotus, he would comprehend the final move of the Mahama Abstinence Violation Saber Techniques Saber Manual, entering Hell. However, Shao Chen did not know why he wanted to enter an abandoned land. After a while, black lotus petals appeared on the surface of the sea. Then, they merged and formed a complete black lotus. Shao Chen had not even brought out 10% of this saber's might. There was still a lot of potential that he could dig out. The Thunder Dao contained in the Saber Manual was also useful for reference. Shao Chen, you really startled me. I will definitely obtain the demonic bone relic. The grudge between us will not end so easily. It is not over yet. Shao Chen seemed to have comprehended something. He had long felt that his saber techniques had reached a bottleneck. However, he did not know where it was. After familiarizing himself with the Tyrant Saber for half a month, Shao Chen could finally bring out 20% of the Tyrant Saber's might. The might of the army-breaking saber technique reached unprecedented heights. The Divine Firmament Sex Saber Fanatic was the Thunder Saber Xiang Tian, Shangguan Lei's master. Shao Chen wondered what the connection was between the Central Great Realms Tianwu Dynasty and the Kunlun Realms Tianwu Dynasty. Chapter 1710. Although the army-breaking saber technique had reached its peak, Shao Chen still could not figure out the heaviness and steadiness that Yi Zifeng mentioned. He had clearly used his full strength in every single move he made, and his momentum was heavy, firm, and tyrannical. But why did he still say that it was just an empty shell? Shao Chen racked his brains, but to no avail. Perhaps it was really as senior brother had said, he had to find a saber expert of the same generation to spar with. However, in this vast grave sea, Shangguan Lei was already the strongest bladesman of his generation. His saber techniques were not a match for Shao Chen at all. If not for the difference in cultivation, Shao Chen would not have cared about Shao Chen at all. In terms of saber techniques, Shao Chen far surpassed Shao Chen. Perhaps the experts of the same generation that senior brother is referring to are existences like me who have comprehended the Saber Dao Great Dao power. Due to this reason, Shao Chen had no choice but to put aside his cultivation of the Saber Dao for now. Shao Chen started to try something that he had never tried before, refining the Heavenly Flame and the Heavenly Snow Divine Flame. These two flames were primal chaos level existences. This was especially so for the Heavenly Snow Divine Flame, which had already reached rank 3. There was no need to refine it for now. What he needed to refine was the Heavenly Flame. This extremely domineering Yang-attributed flame was only a core at the moment. It hadn't even reached the first grade. The fastest way to improve a flame's quality was to devour other flames. Shao Chen was prepared for this long ago. Currently, he had the peak solar true flame, the purple thunder true fire that came from the purple thunder divine incantation, and the dazzling sunlight true flame that he obtained from the purple sun region's auction. The quality of the three types of flames were all above the 8th grade. It was just that its grade was far inferior to the heavenly flame. The primal chaos flame was the oldest flame in the world. It was said that there was a primal chaos flame ranking in the Great Thousand Worlds. When nurtured to its peak, it would be able to rampage in all directions, becoming a great killing weapon in one's hands. He didn't know if his 2 chaos-level flames were on the list or what their rankings would be. Shao Chen did not think about this for now. He took out the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. As he looked at the familiar appearance of the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron, Shao Chen's thoughts drifted. This cauldron had followed him for many years. After hesitating for a moment, a flame appeared in Shao Chen's palm. This was the infamous heavenly flame of the Kunlun realm. With a gentle blow, the golden heavenly flame slowly fell into the cauldron. Boom! The flame immediately burned fiercely in the cauldron. A scorching heat spread out and assaulted Xiao Chen's face. The intense temperature forced Xiao Chen to circulate his quintessence to resist. If he continued, he would definitely injure himself. Kachakat. Just as Xiao Chen was about to place the purple thunder true fire in, cracks appeared in the Dragon Phoenix cauldron and continuously expanded. With a bang, the entire Dragon Phoenix cauldron shattered into pieces. The golden flames suddenly retracted, turning into a small ball of blazing flame, quietly floating in the air. Damn it! Why did you destroy my Dragon Phoenix cauldron? A pained expression appeared on Xiao Chen's face. The Dragon Phoenix cauldron had been with him for a long time, carrying many memories of the Kunlun realm. It shattered just like that. It was truly unexpected and caught them off guard. It is my fault for not considering it thoroughly. This Dragon Phoenix cauldron is a replica. How could it withstand the might of the heavenly flame? Xiao Chen withdrew his flames and looked at the shattered Dragon Phoenix cauldron. Then he sighed softly. He needed to change to a better cauldron. Martial uncle, someone is looking for you. Just at this moment, Ling Yu's voice rang out from outside. If there is nothing important, Ling Yu will not disturb me, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Then, his figure flashed as he walked out. Why are you looking for me? Ling Yu smiled and said, that monk Xin Yuan is here to ask for forgiveness. Even his master is here. The sect master said that this matter depends on your attitude. If you insist on being stubborn, then Zhen Yuan will be in a miserable state. He might even be punished to face the wall for 10 years. Where is he? He is just outside our courtyard. I left him hanging and did not bother with them, Ling Yu said, feeling aggrieved. Wasn't Zhen Yuan's master the monk Xianbei? No matter what, that Xianbei had saved Xiao Chen's life before. That was a different matter. Xiao Chen could not slight him. Make some preparations and properly entertain our honored guest. That venerable Xianbei saved my life before. Afraid that the venerable Xianbei would wait for too long, Xiao Chen's figure flashed and quickly arrived outside the courtyard. Benefactor Xiao, how have you been? When the venerable Xianbei saw Xiao Chen arrive, he placed one hand on his chest and bowed slightly. Zhen Yuan, who was at the side, showed a sincere expression as he bowed as well. Xiao Chen bowed slightly and said, Venerable is too polite. If it is because of your disciple, you can rest assured. I have no intention of pursuing this matter. The venerable Xianbei smiled kindly. He was not surprised by this and thanked Xiao Chen again. However, Zhen Yuan was startled. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen let go of such a great opportunity to punish him so easily. Xiao Chen waved his hand and said, Venerable, this way please. Ling Yu had already prepared tea in the great hall. Then, the group sat down according to etiquette. Benefactor Xiao, I was rash in the fiendish demon battlefield. Although you forgave me on account of my master, please accept this small gift of thanks. Zhen Yuan stepped forward and handed a brocade box to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen casually received it but did not open it. No matter how hard Zhen Yuan made things for Xiao Chen in the fiendish demon battlefield, the venerable Xianbei had saved him before. Accepting the venerable Xianbei's gift of thanks would be equivalent to writing off this matter and not mentioning it again in the future. The venerable Xianbei looked at Xiao Chen and asked, Benefactor Xiao, what are your plans after this? I can see that your complexion is full and your aura is stable. You are not like others who just advanced and have unstable cultivations. You will probably have to go on experiential training soon. Xiao Chen's cultivation was stable, and he had reached the peak in all aspects. Naturally, he could not continue closed-door cultivation. Regular sect disciples would usually accept sect missions at this moment and go on experiential training. Xiao Chen was not a member of the Purple Flame sect and could not do as he was told, so he could only think of another way. Xiao Chen nodded and said, I am still considering it, but I have not decided yet. There are still some things I need to do. The venerable Xianbei smiled faintly. After exchanging some conventional greetings, he sent Zhen Yuan away, showing an expression of having something important to discuss. Xiao Chen immediately understood and got Ling Yu to leave for now. Then he asked, Venerable, what do you have to say? The Venerable Xian Bei took a sip of tea before putting down the teacup. Then, he said softly, "Naturally, I am not worried about Shen Yuan's matter. I believe that you will give me some face and not hold it against him. What I want to talk about is the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique." Xiao Chen's face sank and his expression changed. However, he did not understand what the Venerable Xian Bei meant. Is he going to represent the Buddhist sect and take back this saber technique? That will not do. Even if the other party saved my life, I absolutely cannot hand this saber technique over to him. I also cannot let the other party cripple my breaking the mundane and resolving the mundane. The Venerable Xian Bei said, "You have to hand over the saber technique manual and cripple the 2 moves that you practiced. This old monk will give you a corresponding compensation." I really guessed correctly. Xiao Chen did not know how to reply. The Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique was indeed a Buddhist sect martial technique. Furthermore, it was not an ordinary Buddhist sect martial technique. It was a consummate Buddhist sect martial technique derived from a primogenitor grade cultivation technique. Large sects always treated their cultivation techniques as their exclusive property. That was the foundation of their sect. They were not allowed to casually teach it to outsiders. As for the consummate martial techniques that were leaked, they had to send experts of the sect to investigate and take them back. The other party was an esteemed monk of the Orthodox Buddhist sect. The Profound Light Temple definitely had a connection with the Hidden Spirit Temple. As they belonged to the same sect, their relationship was like that of a superior and a subordinate. Making such a request was morally justifiable and not overboard. The crucial thing was that Xiao Chen did not want to offend the Profound Light Temple now. After all, he had just temporarily resolved his grudge with the Black Lotus Church. Xiao Chen asked after some consideration, "Venerable, can I not hand it over?" The Venerable Xian Bei smiled and replied, "Naturally you can. Convert to the Buddhist sect. I can personally help you tonsure and recommend you to join the Hidden Spirit Temple of the Central Great Realm." Xiao Chen felt speechless. The Venerable Xian Bei really could not forget about accepting me into the Buddhist sect. Is there no other way? The Venerable Xian Bei shook his head and said, "At the very least, you have to hand over the saber technique. In the future, if you expose your saber techniques while roaming the Central Great Realm, you will not be able to escape. The people from the 4 Buddhist monasteries will all find trouble with you. You don't have anyone you know to speak for you, so it will be even more difficult. When the time comes, the people from the Commandment Hall will take action and treat you as a traitor. The other 4 great temples can also exert influence on the 4 great dynasties. The Venerable Master Xian Bei's attainments in the Buddhist Dharma were very high. However, he was also very clear about the ways of the world. The hint he was hinting at was very obvious. He was already helping Xiao Chen by handling this matter. If you hand me the saber manual and swear not to teach the saber technique to anyone else, the situation will be different. Not only will you form a connection with the Hidden Spirit Temple, but you will also receive a lot of care in the future. I will also give you a corresponding reward. The Venerable Xian Bei tried to move Xiao Chen with his emotions and reason, advising him to not be stubborn. Xiao Chen analyzed in his heart. That saber manual only had 3 moves of the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique, and he had already comprehended them. With or without the saber manual, Xiao Chen could practice the final move, entering hell. However, the value of the saber manual was clear. Back then, the Savage Blood Star Venerate did not hesitate to destroy an entire sect to obtain it. From this, Xiao Chen could prove the value of the saber technique. Never mind, I'll just hand it over. The Buddhist sects are very powerful. I really don't want to get involved in any trouble. Xiao Chen made up his mind. Then, he took out the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique's saber manual and handed it to the Venerable Master Xian Bei. Breaking the mundane, resolving the mundane, entering hell. There are a total of 3 moves. I can swear that the saber manual in my hands only has these 3 moves. The Venerable Master Xian Bei did not ask any further. He only looked at Xiao Chen and asked, "Benefactor Xiao, how many moves do you know?" Breaking the mundane, resolving the mundane, both comprehended the true meaning. The moment Xiao Chen said that, The venerable Master Xianbei immediately felt that it was a pity. Disappointment filled his face as he said, "This Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique is a forbidden technique of my Buddhist sect. Not just anyone can practice it. Benefactor is an outsider, yet you manage to practice 2 moves. This is really..." After all the miscellaneous steps were completed, Shaochen made a heart-demon oath not to spread the saber manual. The venerable Master Xianbei handed Shaochen a golden page with words that he had personally written. In the future, if the Buddhist sect's people used this saber to make things difficult for Shaochen, they would treat him with respect. With this as proof, the Buddhist sect's people would not make things difficult for Shaochen. Instead, they would treat him with respect. This is a gift from the Golden Letter. It is one of the highest appreciation gifts of the Buddhist sect. I hope that Benefactor Shao will cherish it. The venerable Master Xianbei handed the golden page to Shaochen. Then he took out a storage ring with his reward in it. These are some secular gifts. Please accept them. We will meet again in the future. After the venerable Master Xianbei and Zhen Yuan left, Ling Yu rushed in and asked, "Martial uncle, why did that old monk look for you?" Shaochen looked at the golden page in his hand and the storage ring. Then he said softly, "Nothing much. It's just that today, I realized that people who hide a dagger behind a smile are the scariest. They make it impossible for you to reject them." Chapter 17:11. What is this fellow going to give? At the foot of the Purple Flame sect, Zhen Yuan endured for a long time before asking, "Master, did you obtain the saber manual?" The Black Lotus Church Holy Sun had made a fool out of him, watching as Shaochen defeated the Black Lotus Church Holy Sun and watched as Shaochen left. If Shaochen were in Ancestor Dragon City, the dragon race upper echelon would have bestowed him with an esteemed dragon pattern cauldron. Inside the considerably large space, the storage ring nearly filled with medial-grade spirit jades. Shaochen extended out his spiritual sense and did a preliminary count. Naturally, the Soaring Dragon Marquis was not there. The Soaring Dragon Marquis' clan faction was focused on the central Great Realm's Yanwu dynasty. Ling Yu calmed himself after a while. Then, he sighed, "In the past, I heard from the sect master that any rank 3 monastery on the Padala mountain has much more wealth than our sect. Now, I finally see it for myself. I heard that many believers do not feel any heartache when donating that incense money, wishing that they could donate their entire family fortune." "Empty?" Ling Yu asked in surprise. "Who gave it to me? What does that mean?" "An ancient cauldron? This stumps me. In the ancient era, cauldrons reigned supreme, standing tall and fighting for the top. In the ancient era, cauldrons represented not only items but also luck, the nation's luck, even the dragon luck of a dynasty. An ordinary cauldron would have been fine. However, when Shaochen pointed out an ancient cauldron, Ling Yu did not dare to speak carelessly. Instead, he entered deep thought. Ling Yu smiled and did not refute. Originally, he had just said it casually. He had indeed gained a lot in this fiendish demon battlefield. Everyone in the Grave Sea knew that Shaochen was Yi Zifeng's junior brother. Anyone who wanted to make a move would have to think twice. Shaochen handed the storage ring to Ling Yu, letting him see what was inside and what compensation Xianbei had given him. Ling Yu said with a smile, "Martial uncle, everyone who saw it has a share. Can you give us some? Money has been tight recently. Right now, it had nothing to do with the dragon race. That was the conferred land of the Yanwu dynasty's Soaring Dragon Marquis. It was called Soaring Dragon and had more than 10,000 years of history. Regardless of whether they cultivated merit, incense power, or great aspirations, they were not easy to deal with. Zhen Yuan had never treated Shaochen as a true opponent. The environment that day was very complicated. If Zhen Yuan had to deal with Shaochen alone, he would not have to worry about anything. The contents of the storage ring revealed themselves. It was empty, there was nothing at all. You can't get along with others just because they have a kind and gentle smile on their faces. However, Ling Yu was too embarrassed to accept it. After asking several times, he reluctantly accepted it, unable to hide the smile on his face. Shaochen did not want the sect to do anything about this matter. Actually, the sect could not do anything about it. Xian Bei taking away the saber manual was perfectly justifiable, and there was nothing wrong with it. Shao Qin to Shao Dragon. Spirit of Qin of the clan to Dragon Sect Dragon to the Chen. It is just to Spirit Yu is of Long Chen. It is Chen to the Chen to Spirit Qin of Qin Chi, just to Chen. Spirit Qin is Spirit. The truth was more or less the same. Shao Chen's expression could not help changing drastically. Shao Chen recalled that his net worth was only 2 million medial-grade spirit jades at most. Ling Yu continued, that Soaring Dragon Great Realm is the territory of the Soaring Dragon Marquis. Its status is instantly different. The many surrounding astral zones are all centered on that Soaring Dragon Great Realm. I know a place in Soaring Dragon City where you can definitely obtain the ancient cauldron that Martial Uncle wants. Ling Yu's eyes lit up as he finally thought of a place. The Soaring Dragon Great Realm. When Shao Chen heard that, he felt somewhat shocked. Could the Soaring Dragon Great Realm be related to the dragon race? At this point, Xian Bei suddenly stopped and sighed. How unfortunate for that Shao Chen. At first glance, I felt that he had a fate with Buddhism. The Buddhists place great emphasis on fate, so my first impression was definitely right. Indeed, an outsider actually managed to practice the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique that Orthodox Buddhist sect disciples find hard to practice. Shao Chen looked at the empty box, and his lips curled up in a smile. Interesting. Is he trying to say that I am like heir to him, not worth mentioning at all? Shao Chen felt even more sullen. He could not bring out his strength at all. The Tianwu dynasty, the Yanwu dynasty, the Leiwu dynasty, and the Shuowu dynasty were the 4 dynasties of the Central Great Realm. Each dynasty had hundreds of thousands of years of history. The dynasty's main clan was even older, dating back to the era when fiendish demons ran amok and sages appeared. All right, I'll listen to you, Shao Chen said with disdain. Then he took the box and took a look. The dazzling light immediately dazzled him. Shao Chen's speech was somewhat unclear, and he could not hear what he was saying. Shao Chen still had some of that high-grade life juice source. Together with his own medial-grade spirit jades, he had more than 10 million medial-grade spirit jades. The names of the dynasties all had the word martial in them, representing a certain atmosphere. It implied a prosperous martial luck. In the martial epic, the dynasties stood firm and did not fall. The Soaring Dragon Great Realm was just their conferred land. I don't believe it. When they make their moves, they are inhumanely rich. Wow. Back then, they could sweep through the peak auction houses of the Purple Sun region, directly suppressing their opponents until they could not retaliate. Shao Chen shook his head. This was the charm of faith. He could not compare. However, if he wanted to cultivate, he needed an ancient cauldron. A light flashed in Zhen Yuan's eyes. However, he did not clearly hear what Shao Chen said at the end. He smiled and asked, Master, can this disciple take a look at the saber manual? The Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique is really curious. The Venerable Xian Bei was someone who showed kindness and authority. Taking away the saber manual was the best way. I got it. Shao Chen rarely saw the Venerable Xian Bei fight at full power. He was very mysterious and had the capital to be arrogant. In any case, no matter what, this incident taught Shao Chen a lesson. In the future, when he interacted with the people of the Buddhist sect, he could not lower his guard. What a bunch of vulgar things. Shao Chen let out a long sigh and smiled bitterly. The Venerable Xian Bei is indeed extraordinary. However, Shao Chen felt somewhat upset that the saber manual was taken away. After all, that was the original version. By giving Shao Chen an empty box, Shao Chen wanted to tell Shao Chen not to get cocky. He would settle this score sooner or later. Shao Chen felt very tyrannical just thinking about it. To think that a complete Great Thousand Realms was just one of the conferred lands of a marquis. Zhen Yuan gave it to me, right? That fellow is really arrogant. Naturally, Shao Chen knew about ancient cauldrons. Coincidentally, he needed a good cauldron for cultivating vital qi. Ling Yu sent his mental energy into the storage ring and exclaimed in an exaggerated manner. He recovered his wits only after a long time. Martial Uncle, they are all spirit jades. They are all medial grade Ling Yu. 3 days later, it was time for Xiao Chen and Ling Yu to depart. After hearing Ling Yu's explanation, Xiao Chen learned that this soaring dragon great realm did indeed have some connection to the dragon race. According to rumor, before the central great realm was established, that place used to be the territory of one of the 6 dragon race bloodlines. "Martial uncle, what is this brocade box? Let me help you open it." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Don't worry about that for now. Let's see what's inside." Ling Yu muttered but did not say anything else. For a long time, Zhen Yuan had firmly suppressed Shangguan Lei and Wang Yueming. Most importantly, Zhen Yuan even comprehended a true intent. It would be a pity if such a talent was not of the Buddhist sect. Xian Bei nodded without much concern. Merits offset demerits. You do not need to be punished for the mistakes you made because of the Black Lotus Church's demons. I will explain it to Senior Brother Abbot. In that case, he could use the cauldron for 2 purposes. As he refined the heavenly flame, he could also use the cauldron to cultivate vital qi. Even so, Xiao Chen did not treat Ling Yu as an outsider, directly giving him 1 million medial grade Ling Yu. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Cut it out. Aside from me, you gain the most in this fiendish demon battlefield. Who knows how much that peak grade treasure weapon is worth? Furthermore, there is still a pile of natural treasures that have not been sold yet." Ling Yu's expression changed slightly. "Martial uncle, what's going on? Weren't they the ones who made the mistake first? Why did they take away your saber manual? I'll go and look for the sect master for you." Ling Yu even added in his heart, "If possible, I will not stand on ceremony with such worldly items." Xiao Chen said indifferently, "There's no need to care about him. Let me ask you something serious. Do you know where I can buy cauldrons? It would be best if they are ancient cauldrons. The older, the better. They have to be genuine." Xiao Chen's expression recovered its calm. Then he waved his hand and said, "There's no need. I already have no need for the saber manual. It is a Buddhist sect consummate technique in itself. Even if he does not come to me for it, someone else will come to me in the future, using even more forceful methods." Xian Bei shook his head. Then, he said decisively, "If it were any other consummate technique, it would not be a problem for me to let you take a look. However, the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique is not possible. Hence, there are too many disciples who fall into a state of obsession with the saber. After breaking the abstinence, how to exercise self-discipline and explain the words Mahama have always been difficult problems. If it were any other Buddhist sect expert, they would definitely attack without saying a word and not be so polite." When Xiao Chen heard that, he immediately thought of something. What lousy scripture! It must be the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique's saber manual. Ling Yu was about to rush over excitedly when Xiao Chen stopped him. "Wait a moment." However, Ling Yu brought surprising news to Xiao Chen. "Zhen Yuan betrayed us. I heard that he killed a few Xian-ranked esteemed monks and stole a scripture before fleeing. The Profound Light Temple notified all the sects in the 3 blessed lands and issued the highest level wanted posters. Right now, there is no place for him in the entire Grave Sea." Xiao Chen made some mental calculations. His net worth seemed to be more than 8 million medial grade spirit jades. One day, he would go to the Central Great Realm and compete with the strongest outstanding talents of the Great Thousand Realms. Before the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor fell asleep, he finally gave Xiao Chen a dragon race cultivation technique and some dragon race secret techniques. Hiding a dagger in a smile. Actually, that was not to the extent of it. 8 million medial grade spirit jades. Xiao Chen looked around and discovered a brocade box on the table. That was what Zhen Yuan had given him. Ling Yu still felt dissatisfied. How could he bully others like this? How hateful! After a pause, Ling Yu smiled and said, "Furthermore, we are now rich. 8 million medial grade spirit jades. There are also the many natural treasures of the fiendish demon battlefield. We can sell them there and sell them for a good price." It seemed like the defeat or some other reason led to the retreat of this dragon race bloodline. Aside from this, there was nothing else. All the items were clear and tranquil spirit jades giving off dense light. Xiao Chen flicked his finger and sent out a strand of energy. Bang! The brocade box instantly bounced open. The cultivation technique for vital qi was called the Divine Dragon Golden Body Art. Just from its name, one could tell that it was extraordinary. Xiaochen did not trust Zhen Yuan. He had been so unlucky in the fiendish demon battlefield. He did not believe that Zhen Yuan did not hold any grudges against him. However, Xiaochen was not as lucky. He could only rely on himself. Xiaochen did not notice that Zhen Yuan's expression was scarily sullen at this moment. Regardless of whether he had something to do or not, he would gain something by comprehending it. Damn it! Does Master think that I am not even comparable to an outsider? Chapter 1712. Then he suddenly made a move in the profound light temple and stole the saber technique manual. Everything was connected meticulously. That was to say, one could still see Soaring Dragon City from 5,000 kilometers away. Ling Yu did not know about the saber technique manual, so he asked, finding it strange. Ling Yu, where are you bringing me? Furthermore, who knew what kind of danger they would encounter in the boundless starry heavens? Even a cloud sea cultivator would not dare to say that he could move around without fear. Xiaochen smiled and did not say anything more. Let's end this matter here. Let's go to the Soaring Dragon Great Realm. Now that Xiaochen could accompany his martial uncle, he got what he wanted. The indistinct figure looked like a huge coiled dragon amid the dust and sand, looking hazy and majestic. Yi Zifeng probably started plotting from the moment he left the fiendish demon battlefield. The two did not dare to waste time or use Yi Zifeng's name, so they could only obediently head to the Soaring Dragon Great Realm. Looking at Soaring Dragon City, which was not very far away, he barely managed to reach it at dusk. After entering, Ling Yu marveled at the exquisite and luxurious carriage. This was especially so when he saw a small cabinet appear when Xiaochen gently touched it. What opportunity! Xiaochen felt astonished in his heart. Soaring Dragon City's accumulations were much deeper than he had expected. The streets immediately became much less populated, forming a strong contrast. The outline of a vast city appeared at the limits of the two's vision. Xiaochen nodded and stretched out his hand, and the cycle throne appeared from his clothes. Let's go. A special auction? How special is it? Ling Yu smiled and said, That's right. Martial uncle, the place I'm bringing you to is an auction that only those with a great desolate Ian bloodline can attend. No matter how many spirit jades one has, one is not qualified to enter. Martial uncle, let's set off as well. This was just the conferred land of a feudal lord in the Yanwu dynasty, and it already had such grandeur. Martial uncle, the place I'm bringing you to is a special auction. If you want to find an ancient cauldron, that auction should be the fastest way. Otherwise, you will have to go to the market and search slowly, wasting time and effort. The horses galloped, and the war chariot sped forward, kicking up dust clouds. Ling Yu explained to Xiaochen where they were going. After putting away the cycle war chariot, the two went to the majestic city walls and lined up to enter. After sailing for half a month, they finally arrived at the Soaring Dragon Great World. Xiaochen smiled faintly, and the throne transformed into the shape of a horse. A huge spiritual pressure emanated from the city. It was unknown how far away it was. When Xiaochen and Ling Yu, who were in closed-door cultivation, were woken up, it felt like they had fallen asleep. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves in the Soaring Dragon Great Realm. It was an eye-opener for him. One could only imagine the magnificence of this city. Martial uncle, why do you think this Zhen Yuan would betray the temple for no reason? Ling Yu was filled with confusion and doubt. Xiaochen sighed softly, That's right. He has already reached the ceiling of the profound light temple. However, he still did not go to the central great realm. It was clear that he was not confident enough, feeling nervous and uneasy. Now that I've seen an opportunity, it's not strange for me to take the risk after waiting for more than 10 years. The two mutated flood dragons turned into black dragon horses, gently moving their hooves. They looked tall and mighty, exuding an extraordinary aura. No wonder Ling Yu said that this Soaring Dragon Great Realm was the center of the dozens of nearby astral clusters. It was indeed true. This was not Ling Yu's first time here. He explained softly, That soaring dragon city is built in the center of this great realm. Its aura swallows everything, absorbing the luck of the entire great realm. After accumulating for more than 10,000 years, it is not strange for it to have such boldness. Ling Yu chuckled and said, "Martial uncle, don't be anxious. You will know when we get there." Xiao Chen took out the 1,000-year flame that he normally could not bear to drink and filled the cups for Ling Yu and himself. Then he gently swirled the wine cups. When Xiao Chen heard this, his interest was piqued. What strong might and pressure! Even a sovereign personage would have to think twice before attacking this soaring dragon city. Xiao Chen leaped off the warship. "Come on up then." There were 3 large docks in the vast grave sea. Yes, 10 years. To be precise, more than 10 years. More than 10 years ago, when Shangguan Lei and Wang Yueming made their debut, they were no match for him. Over the years, he has gone further and further away, and Shangguan Lei and Shangguan Yun have rarely fought with him. No one knows how strong he really is. Everything was ruined. Xiao Chen entered the car and called out to Ling Yu. His days were definitely not going to be easy. How could he cultivate in peace while hiding? Of course, it was not because the war chariot was moving too slowly, but because the journey was simply too long. Xiao Chen estimated that it was at least 10,000 miles away. The Purple Flame sect had a starry sky teleportation array that led directly to the soaring dragon Great Realm. However, it consumed a lot of energy to operate it. Even if one wasn't an ordinary person, they wouldn't be qualified to use it. They all seemed to have the bloodline of the great desolate Eon's 10,000 races. Normally, it was rare to see the bloodline of the great desolate Eon's 10,000 races. However, this street was filled with them. It looked like Zhen Yuan had planned this long ago. He clearly knew that he could not snatch the Mahamaya Abstinence Violation Saber Technique's Saber Manual. After several rounds of modifications, the Cycle Throne was now comparable to a peak-grade treasure tool when it came to traveling. No matter how one looked at it, Xiao Chen's future was boundless. He would definitely shake up the Cloud Sea domain in the future. Zhen Yuan could even go to the distant Central Great Realm and make a name for himself. Betraying the temple would be a grave sin. Hence, Zhen Yuan informed the Venerable Xian Bei to borrow the Profound Light Temple's strength to retrieve the Saber Manual from him. "What is this?" Ling Yu asked in shock as he looked at the throne. The most important thing was that the Cycle Throne used to be a magic treasure. It referenced the immortal equipment of the immortal epic and was unique in the Great Thousand Realms. When Ling Yu heard that he was going to the Soaring Dragon Great Realm, he revealed an excited expression. That bustling place was much more interesting than the boring Blessed Lands. Unfortunately, he was not strong enough or wealthy enough, so he could not go there often. He was the most outstanding disciple of the Profound Light Temple in the past 300 years. He was an outstanding talent with the greatest future in the 3 Blessed Lands. At his highest speed, he could fly as fast as a Cloud Sea sovereign personage in the starry heavens. The people of the same generation were at least minor primal core venerates. There were also many young cultivators like Hua Yunfeng and Shangguan Lei. Although the Cycle Throne could not compare to a huge starship in the starry heavens, it was very suitable for traveling short distances. Ling Yu led the way, bringing Xiao Chen to a place. After making many turns, they arrived at a desolate street. Cold qi spread out in a cabinet, sealing Xiao Chen's collection of wine cups in ice. After paying the entry tax, they entered the city without any obstructions. People continuously appeared at the port, rushing towards Soaring Dragon City. This auction house is not open to the public. However, it is the most prestigious auction house in Soaring Dragon City. Let's go and see if there are any ancient cauldrons up for auction. If there are, we can register directly. This huge warship was specially used for traveling in the starry heavens. It could carry more than 1,000 people at a time, and its flying speed was incredibly fast. It could conserve energy and was convenient to carry around. Riding on a huge starship was undoubtedly a safe and efficient method. Xiao Chen had been to many auction houses, and they were all similar. He really wanted to know what was special about them. Of course, if one had strong connections and was wealthy enough to use the Starry Heavens transportation formation, it would be a different story. The bustling popularity of this place depended entirely on the peak cultivators of the nearby astral clusters. Xiao Chen and Ling Yu both felt this faint spiritual pressure. All sorts of peak starships stopped at every port, traveling to various places of the Great Thousand Realms. Not only would they not have a foothold in the Cloud Sea domain, but they would also be wanted by the entire Buddhist sect when they went to the Central Great Realm. Xiao Chen took a quick look. The cultivators who came here were all extraordinary. The older ones were all Cloud Sea cultivators. Star venerates were everywhere. At this moment, the chariot also started moving. 2 horses pulled the chariot, kicking up a cloud of dust on the street. If the soaring dragon Great Realm was the center of the dozens of nearby astral clusters, it would not be surprising that this city was bustling. Hence, Cloud Sea experts would choose to travel on a huge starship to conserve energy. Xiao Chen wondered how imposing the Yanwu dynasty's true marquis residence was. Xiao Chen said calmly, "He has been the strongest person in the 3 blessed lands for more than 10 years already, right?" Xiao Chen's face immediately sank. To his surprise, he discovered that every cultivator walking on the street seemed to be leaping about. It was like he had returned to the great desolate Aeon, that hot-blooded era when 10,000 races fought for supremacy. This person is really terrifying. In the future, when I run into him, I have to be more careful and not be careless. The people walking on the main road were all martial artists, and very few ordinary people could be seen. This place was an out-and-out martial city. Xiao Chen made some calculations. 1 grave sea cluster had more than 100 purple sun regions. 1 purple sun cluster contained dozens of Great Thousand Realms. Chapter 1713. Only those with a great desolate Aeon bloodline could participate in the auction? The style was really not ordinary high. Ling Yu continued, "Even if you are a sovereign personage without a great desolate Aeon bloodline, you still cannot enter the auction. Even if you are worth more than 100 million spirit jades and have mountains of spirit jades, you still cannot enter the auction without a great desolate Aeon bloodline. But if your bloodline is not pure enough and of poor quality, you will still be asked to leave." Xiao Chen entered deep thought. What does this mean? Bloodlines of the great desolate Aeon's 10,000 races are rare in the first place. Furthermore, the bloodline's power is not diluted and pure enough. In that case, there will be even fewer bidders. Don't auctions need to be auctioned in order to earn more profits? Ling Yu's lips curled up. Who knows? I heard that the master behind the auction has something to do with the soaring dragon marquis's young master here. Perhaps he does not lack spirit jades. However, speaking of which, cultivators with sufficiently pure great desolate Aeon bloodlines are either true inheritors of sects or noble clans. They will not lack spirit jades. This piqued Xiao Chen's interest. He smiled and said, "Never mind that. Bring me over to take a look." After a while, the 2 stopped at the end of the street, in front of an ancient pavilion that was not very tall or magnificent. Why did Ling Yu emphasize that this was an ancient pavilion? It was because aside from the ancient aura that this pavilion giving off an exceptionally heavy feeling, there was nothing special about it. A signboard hung in front of the pavilion with the words, "Soaring Dragon Pavilion." The Soaring Dragon Pavilion in Soaring Dragon City. No one would believe that this pavilion had nothing to do with the master of the Soaring Dragon Great Realm. "Martial uncle, this is the place," Ling Yu said as he pointed to the signboard. Ling Yu pointed at the signboard. At the main entrance, many people were queuing up to enter. Those who wanted to enter had to undergo a strict inspection. They would be tested with blood, the might of the great desolate Aeon's 10,000 races, and the light of the great desolate divine eyes. No way. The astral rock race bloodline is only grade 2. You cannot enter the Soaring Dragon Pavilion. A black-clad old man in front of the pavilion said expressionlessly to a young cultivator, urging him to leave quickly. "Senior, how about you help me out? This time, I brought plenty of spirit jades to the Soaring Dragon Pavilion and wish to auction off a good treasure weapon." The black-clad old man said without giving Xiao Chen any face, "There are many other auction houses in Soaring Dragon City that you can choose from. You don't have to enter the Soaring Dragon Pavilion." "Old thing, Don't be so stubborn, okay? I'm also a core disciple of a 4th grade sect in the Tanghai Islands. I came here because of your reputation. Can I go in and take a look? Impudent! The black-robed old man let out a cold snort and sent the so-called 4th grade sect disciple flying with a gentle palm strike. A star venerate level will of soul spread out from Xiao Chen's body, startling everyone. Xiao Chen felt startled in his heart. The old man guarding the door looked unremarkable, but he was actually a star venerate. The Star Rock race is one of the weakest races in the Great Desolate Aeon. Furthermore, you only have a Grade 2 bloodline. How dare you behave atrociously in front of the soaring dragon pavilion? You are truly reckless. Scram. With a cold shout, the young man did not dare to stay any longer and left with his tail between his legs. After this scene, Xiao Chen discovered that the long queue had become much shorter. It looked like many people who wanted to sneak in retreated and sneaked out. Soon, it was Ling Yu's turn. He had entered once 5 years ago. Naturally, there were no problems, so he easily passed the inspection. Then, it was Xiao Chen's turn. Ling Yu waited at the entrance for Xiao Chen. In his opinion, after Xiao Chen activated his Great Desolate Aeon bloodline, the horrifying dragon might made the blood in his body tremble. Passing the inspection would not be a problem. Ling Yu waited at the entrance for Xiao Chen. Among the Great Desolate Aeon bloodlines, the dragon race ranked in the top 100. Although Xiao Chen's martial uncle could not possibly be a pure 6-colored divine dragon of the dragon race, he would not be far from it. Furthermore, the quality of his blood would definitely be very high. It would definitely be at least Grade 5. That black-clad old man glanced at Xiao Chen and said indifferently, "Drip your blood." Xiao Chen glanced at a small spiritual pool in front. When his blood dripped into it, it would materialize all sorts of mysterious phenomena. If it were a dragon race cultivator, dripping his blood would definitely materialize the image of a dragon. It would either be a pure 6-colored divine dragon or a lower-ranked true dragon, like the sky dragon, the flood dragon, the thunder dragon, the coiling dragon, and so on. After that, the bloodline would be even thinner, and it would only be a false dragon bloodline. It would materialize some strange-looking dragons. In name, they were of the dragon race bloodline, but in reality, they were not presentable at all. Xiao Chen did as he was told, dripping his blood into the spiritual pool. Boom! Dragon might spread out, making everyone's eyes light up. People of the dragon race. The dragon race. That is an existence that ranks among the top 100 of the Great Desolate Aeon's 10,000 races. How incredible! I see another heaven-defying outstanding talent of the Great Desolate Aeon's 100 races. Who knew? That black-clad old man also felt slightly startled. However, when he looked at the illusion that appeared in the spiritual pool, he frowned. However, his brows furrowed. What the hell was that thing? It had green skin and a strange shape. It does not look like a 6-colored divine dragon or the various true dragons. So, it is a false dragon. There is no need to test the rest. You may leave. You cannot enter the soaring dragon pavilion yet, the black-clad old man said indifferently. The dragon race was also divided into various ranks. The 3 great ancestor dragons were the strongest, but the ancestor dragon bloodline was already extinct. Now, the 6-colored divine dragons were the strongest, followed by the true dragons, and then the various strange false dragons with the thinnest bloodline. Of course, in the history of the dragon race, there had been some false dragon bloodline cultivators who turned the tables and became heaven dragons. However, most of the false dragon bloodline cultivators were known as mixed blood dragons within the dragon race. They would not have any status outside. The black-clad old man considered himself very knowledgeable and knew the history of the Great Desolate Aeon's various races like the back of his hand. With one glance, he determined that Xiao Chen was a false dragon. However, that was a blue dragon. It was once the strongest 7-colored divine dragons. However, for the sake of saving the dragon race, nearly all of them went extinct in a crucial battle, disappearing for tens of thousands of years. Now, everyone knew that the 6-colored divine dragons were unparalleled. Even Ling Yu, a disciple of the Grave Sea, knew about them. However, no one had ever heard of the so-called blue dragon bloodline. Xiao Chen felt speechless. However, this was fine. Even the black-clad old man could not recognize the blue dragon bloodline. In that case, Xiao Chen could keep his identity a secret for a long time at the very least. Ling Yu, who was at the door, felt shocked. This was completely unexpected. He exclaimed, "That's impossible. Senior, you must be mistaken." The black-clad old man said sullenly, "This old man has interacted with the people of the great desolate Aeon's 100 races before. How could I be mistaken?" Xiao Chen waved his hand and smiled. "So what if it's a false dragon? However, shouldn't old sir give me a chance to see the rank of my bloodline first?" The black-clad old man entered deep thought. Then he nodded and said, "No matter how high the rank of a false dragon's bloodline is, what is the point? Let's go. There is no point in saying anything more. Don't blame this old man for doing things according to the rules." Right after the black-clad old man spoke, Xiao Chen smiled faintly and opened his great desolate divine eyes. A resplendent golden light shot out from his eyes. Xiao Chen's gaze, which contained the divine dragon's might, met the black-clad old man's gaze, catching him off guard and entering the depths of his sea of consciousness. The black-clad old man immediately felt his soul tremble, and he uncontrollably took 2 steps back. When the black-clad old man recovered his wits, he looked at Xiao Chen, who had withdrawn his great desolate divine eyes, and revealed a horrified expression. He muttered to himself, "How can this be? How can the might of a false dragon be so frightening?" Xiao Chen asked softly, "Senior, can I go in now?" The black-clad old man was still somewhat confused, feeling doubtful and confused. He shook his head and said, "Go in." As expected, Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Ignoring the gazes of the others, he walked over with large strides. "Martial uncle, that was close. I thought that you would not be able to enter," Ling Yu said as he heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, he felt very doubtful in his heart. To think that martial uncle does not have a true dragon bloodline but a false dragon bloodline. However, how did he clear the stage? It would be strange if the might of the strongest divine dragon bloodline did not clear the stage. Even if one was not very knowledgeable and could not recognize the blue dragon, the might of a divine dragon was real. Xiao Chen smiled and did not say anything. The two entered the soaring dragon pavilion. The two immediately experienced a different scenery. It looked ordinary on the outside, but the decorations inside were extremely extravagant and resplendent. 2 maidservants with voluptuous figures in sexy clothes walked over and attended to the two. "Martial uncle, I'll just take a look first." "All right." With the maidservants attending to the two, Xiao Chen did not need Ling Yu to lead the way. He also had things that interested him. Xiao Chen asked the pretty maidservant, "Are there any ancient cauldrons for auction?" "I'll bring you to the ancient cauldron zone. It's on the 3rd floor." The pretty maidservant had a smile on her face. Her service was very thorough and polite. When the two arrived at the ancient cauldron zone, the pretty maidservant moved to the side, obediently not disturbing Xiao Chen. Since this was the ancient cauldron zone, naturally, all the cauldrons on display were ancient cauldrons. Furthermore, there were no restrictions on them. One could look around to one's heart's content and check everything thoroughly. It looked like the Soaring Dragon Pavilion's people were very confident in their security. They did not worry that someone would dare to cause trouble here. There were not many people in the ancient cauldron zone. Right now, only Xiao Chen was there, making it seem especially deserted. The 2nd floor had medicinal pills, secret manuals, weapons, and tools, as well as some ancient and legendary items. Those were the most popular places. Xiao Chen looked around, and surprise appeared on his face. Then, his gaze fixed on an ancient cauldron. That was a square cauldron with ancient patterns carved on its surface. It looked exquisite but did not lose its weight. Dragon pattern cauldron. Xiao Chen felt somewhat surprised. Unexpectedly, he saw a genuine dragon pattern cauldron here. However, based on its aura, it did not seem ancient enough. It should be a dragon pattern cauldron produced by the dragon race in the past 1,000 years. Xiao Chen did not know how it got leaked. Perhaps it was a reward from a dragon race cultivator. After the cultivator no longer needed it, he put it up for auction and spread it. After all, it could not be considered a peak dragon pattern cauldron. Young master, are you interested in this dragon pattern cauldron? This is a genuine item of the dragon race, not an imitation made by an outsider. It is the work of an elder of the dragon race's upper echelon. Just this point alone makes it extraordinary, a pretty maidservant explained to Xiao Chen in a gentle voice. Xiao Chen took a look at the starting bid, 500,000 medial-grade spirit jades. The final bid was 1 million medial-grade spirit jades. The price was rather fair. This dragon pattern cauldron should be worth 800,000 medial-grade spirit jades. After all, it was a product of the dragon race. However, it was already very expensive. Regular Cloud Sea Star Venerates could spend as much as 3 or 4 million medial-grade spirit jades. After all, they could not pawn off their treasures and weapons. Not everyone could be like the profound Light Temple, which had many believers and could take out 8 million medial-grade spirit jades to exchange for the Muhammad Abstinence Violation Saber Techniques Saber Manual. This, brother, aside from its value, whether a cauldron is good or not depends on who used it. This cauldron is definitely worth the price. In the special zone for ancient cauldrons, it can rank in the top 3. Just as Xiao Chen was about to speak, an azure-clad man with a smile walked over. As he walked, a sharpness was hidden. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows. This was a bladesman. Even though this person hid his sharpness, Xiao Chen could still sense it. Furthermore, this person was an extraordinary bladesman. When the azure-clad man got closer, he smiled and said, just like the saber in brother's hand. Chapter 17:14. Who is this person? To think that this person's eyes are so sharp, immediately recognizing the origin of the saber in my hand. I am Jiang He. How may I help you, brother? The azure-robed man looked very clean. His smile was also very refreshing, making it hard for others to feel ill will. Xiao Chen, might I ask Brother Jiang why you feel that this cauldron is worth the price? This was what Xiao Chen was more concerned about. Indeed, he could not see anything special about the dragon pattern cauldron. The only bright spot was that it came from the dragon race. However, this cauldron was not made of peak materials and was not old. How could it be worth the price? Jiang He casually patted the cauldron and smiled. Like I said, it does not matter if the cauldron is ordinary. What's important is that the person who used it is incredible. In that case, this cauldron is incredible as well. Jiang He glanced around and fixed his gaze on Xiao Chen's saber. Then, he continued, it is like the saber in your hand. It contains only one Dao, and it is the rather common Thunder Dao. However, because of the word tyrant and the legend of the generations of tyrants, it allowed an inferior grade Dao tool to become a superior grade Dao tool. Furthermore, it stands out from the rest, much stronger than a regular superior grade Dao tool. Anticipation appeared in Xiao Chen's heart. In that case, who used this cauldron? Jiang He smiled mysteriously. I can't tell you that. Even if I told you, you might not know. Do you know the most promising young bladesman of the dragon race? Xiao Chen shook his head. He had never been to the Central Great Realm. How could he know about the dragon race? That bladesman is known as Willow Leaf Saber in the dragon race because his saber technique is elegant and agile like the wind. When the saber light fell, it was like weeping willow leaves fluttering in the wind, like willow leaves filling the sky. Back then, when Willow Leaf Saber cultivated the dragon race's cultivation technique, he used this cauldron. Xiao Chen only half believed Jiang He's words, as many of the dragon race's cultivation techniques required the dragon pattern cauldron. Unlike the other races, only cultivators who cultivated vital qi would use cauldrons. However, there were not many cultivators who cultivated the vital qi Dao. Hence, this ancient cauldron zone was deserted. Jiang He spoke continuously, praising the dragon pattern cauldron. This made Xiao Chen feel a sense of intimacy. Xiao Chen was a member of the dragon clan. Although he had never been to the dragon clan, he definitely yearned for it. He happened to see the dragon pattern cauldron that came from the dragon race. Although the asking price was too high, he was actually tempted. Hearing others praise something that caught one's eye, it was inevitable that one would have a favorable impression of it. Of course, Xiao Chen would not let his thoughts and feelings show on his face. This was especially so for an unfamiliar bladesman who took the initiative to charge over. The two of them chatted casually, but they ignored the pretty maid beside them. The pretty maidservant frowned as she looked at Jiang He. She wanted to say something, but did not say anything in the end. Xiao Chen was too engrossed in his conversation with Jiang He to notice this small detail. Jiang He was quite familiar with cauldrons. As he spoke, he introduced most of the cauldrons in the ancient cauldron zone. Many of these insights broadened Xiao Chen's horizons, making him feel refreshed. For example, the difference between a square cauldron and an original cauldron, a three-legged cauldron or a four-legged cauldron. There was also the appearance and value of the cauldron, as well as how it was appraised. Just talking about it made one feel that the cauldron was indeed a great talent. Jiang He pointed at the cauldron designated for ancient cauldrons and said disdainfully, "A real ancient cauldron would only be considered noble if it has an inscription on it. However, the cauldrons in the ancient cauldron area, even the oldest one, do not have any inscriptions. This means that they are just ordinary cauldrons. Things from ancient times are good, but the bricks and tiles from ancient times are still rubbish. Cauldrons can't be simply divided by age." The maidservant interrupted, "No one would take this kind of cauldron out for auction. It's either a sect guarding cauldron, or an aristocratic family keeping it. For an inscription to survive until now, one can imagine how powerful the Tao contained in it is. Who would be foolish enough to auction it?" Clearly, Jiang He's words had angered the maidservant. After all, no one was happy about it. People said that the cauldrons they auctioned were all rubbish. Jiang He laughed out loud. "That's enough. You have your own judgment, brother. We had a good chat, and I hope we'll meet again. Goodbye." Jiang He performed a casual cupped fist salute and left with large strides. Xiao Chen looked around the ancient cauldron zone again. Then, his gaze landed on the dragon pattern cauldron. That's it. After all, it was a cauldron from the dragon race and had 1,000 years of history. It should be able to endure a rank 1 heavenly flame. As for using it to cultivate, it would be more compatible with the body-tempering cultivation technique that the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor gave him. Furthermore, his earlier conversation with Jiang He had deepened his understanding of cauldrons, which strengthened Xiao Chen's decision. For hours later, Xiao Chen met the late Ling Yu on the first floor. Clearly, Ling Yu had not had his fill yet. "There are so many good things here. After looking around, the short sword in my hand is not worth mentioning at all." Ling Yu sighed, feeling somewhat dazzled. Dao tools were not rare in this place. There were 2 Dao tools being auctioned. However, they were not superior grade, not even medial grade, just inferior grade. Even so, they were still very popular, attracting many people to watch and play with them, praising them. Xiao Chen smiled and asked, "What have you taken a fancy to?" "Too many. However, the one that truly suits me is a pair of gloves. I would like to auction off the short sword. After all, I have no use for it." Xiao Chen waved his hand and said, "There's no need. That ink cloud sword of yours will become a Dao tool within 10 years. Even if you do not use it, you will be able to gain a lot from it. If you do not have enough spirit jades, I can just lend you some later." Ling Yu said somewhat embarrassedly, "I keep receiving benefits from Martial Uncle. I really feel bad about it." Xiao Chen did not mind. "I am your martial uncle after all. Since senior brother is gone, naturally I will take care of you." After arriving at the auction house, Xiao Chen took out 25 kilograms of the highest quality life juice source and handed it to the pretty maidservant. "The auction will be held 3 days from now. Your life juice source is considered a rank A auction item. The Soaring Dragon Pavilion will give you a VIP card for free. At that time, you can stay in a VIP room. Please keep it well." Xiao Chen received the VIP card, not feeling surprised. The life juice source was a wondrous item of the highest quality, so it was very popular. The higher the price, the more the other party would charge. This was equivalent to giving money to the Soaring Dragon Pavilion. Naturally, the other party would not mistreat their customers. After staying in the city for a while and sightseeing, 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Xiao Chen and Ling Yu arrived at the Soaring Dragon Pavilion on time. When they entered, the decorations were already very different from 3 days ago. The auction items in the hall were all gone. The brightly lit hall only had a tall platform with no seats. It looked like the guests were going to stay in the 4 cubicles of the floor. The arrangement was rather unique. With a casual glance, one could clearly see the tall platform in the middle of the hall from any of the cubicles. As people came and went, a small auction for the outstanding talents of the great desolate Ian bloodlines was about to begin. "Brother Xiao." A familiar voice came from behind. It was Jiang He walking over. He had a smile on his face, looking as clean as before, giving off a good impression. "This little brother is?" Jiang He asked softly as he looked at Ling Yu. "My friend." Xiao Chen did not want Ling Yu to feel awkward in front of outsiders. Normally, he would not purposely flaunt his status as Ling Yu's martial uncle. Jiang He nodded slightly. After the greetings, he asked, "Brother Xiao, do you know that something major happened in the Soaring Dragon Pavilion during the past 3 days?" Xiao Chen's and Ling Yu's expressions changed slightly. They exchanged looks, both confused. "What major matter?" Jiang He said softly, "I wonder which senior expert got someone to sell 25 kilograms of life juice source here. Furthermore, it is of the highest quality, without any impurities. To think that it even startled the people of the Cluster Lord's residence." The Cluster Lord's residence. After sightseeing in the city for 3 days, Xiao Chen already learned that the master of this Soaring Dragon Great Realm was a granddaughter of the Yanwu dynasty's Soaring Dragon Marquis. Naturally, the residence here was the Cluster Lord's residence. Comparing oneself to others was truly frustrating. Xiao Chen heard that this Cluster Lord Go Yu was only 20-odd years old, about the same age as Ling Yu. However, she was already the master of a great realm. Furthermore, it was the extraordinary Soaring Dragon Great Realm, the center of several dozen nearby astral clusters. As for Ling Yu, he was just a rank 4 sect disciple, not even the strongest in the Grave Sea cluster. In comparison, the difference between heaven and earth could not even be described. Xiao Chen frowned and said, "No matter what, Cluster Lord Go Yu will not lack life juice source, right? The life juice source is not the only natural treasure that can improve one's physique. There are still some." Jiang He said helplessly, "Naturally, the Cluster Lord does not lack these resources. However, there are many people in the Cluster Lord's residence, and there are many people in need of rewards. Not to mention the Cluster Lord, everyone here is an outstanding talent with a great desolate Ian bloodline. Coincidentally, this life juice source has the greatest effect on us and is also what we need the most." Xiao Chen knew about this. The life juice source improved one's bloodline, which then led to the strengthening of one's physique. The outstanding talents with a great desolate Ian bloodline happened to be cultivators with special bloodlines. This was simply a natural treasure tailor-made for them. Jiang He shook his head and sighed. "This time, we really have to pay a huge price. I hope that we can gain something. Brother Xiao, have you decided on that cauldron?" This question was rather direct. However, Xiao Chen did not mind answering. He answered honestly, "The dragon pattern cauldron." Jiang He smiled and said, "You have good eyes. In my opinion, that dragon pattern cauldron is the only good cauldron worth collecting in the ancient cauldron zone." After a simple conversation, the two parted. After suppressing himself for a long time, Ling Yu said excitedly, "Martial uncle, unexpectedly, that life juice source is in such high demand. It actually caused such a huge commotion. Earlier, I nearly could not hold back and even startled the Cluster Lord's residence's people." Xiao Chen said indifferently, "That is not surprising. After all, we have a great desolate Ian bloodline. The power of our bloodline is a treasure trove. Who would not treasure an opportunity to develop it? There were not many wondrous items that could develop a great desolate Ian bloodline. Coincidentally, the life juice source was one of them. Furthermore, it was the highest quality life juice source. When Xiao Chen thought about his near-death experience that day, no matter what the result was, it would not be surprising. After all, He had used his life to exchange for it. After entering the VIP room, Xiao Chen was surprised to discover that the maidservant in the room was the one who led him in 3 days ago. The pretty maidservant smiled, looking very cute. Xiao Chen sat down. At this moment, an old man with a goatee walked over from the high platform in the hall. His weather-beaten face was full of vigor, his complexion flushed red, and he looked old. Ling Yu said somewhat excitedly, "It is about to begin." Xiao Chen found it strange. It was just the start of the auction. What was there to be excited about? All of a sudden, the flames in the brightly lit building went out one by one, and the entire building was plunged into darkness. Before anyone could react, the light returned in the next moment. However, it was not the light of the lamps. Instead, many pairs of great desolate divine eyes opened at this moment. The ancient soaring dragon pavilion immediately glowed with a divine light, looking resplendent. Chapter 17:15. The great desolate divine eyes illuminated the ancient pavilion. As far as the eye could see, the entire place was filled with beams of dazzling divine light. Under the illumination of the great desolate divine eyes, the ancient soaring cloud pavilion's noble status and identity immediately appeared. Anyone standing here would feel a surge of excitement. The outstanding talents with great desolate Aeon bloodlines, which were rarely seen, were all gathered together today. All sorts of ancient great desolate Aeon divine might reverberated intensely in the ancient pavilion as the outstanding talents competed with each other. Ling Yu, who was at the side, could no longer hold back. He activated his great desolate divine eyes, releasing motes of golden light. His gaze clashed with the gazes of the various places. This place was not a battlefield. However, the invisible competition was even more intense than a battlefield. Geniuses were all unruly. What more the outstanding talents with great desolate Aeon bloodlines? Naturally, they were even more unwilling to fall behind. However, for some reason, Xiao Chen remained indifferent, unable to feel the hot-bloodedness and impulse in Ling Yu's heart. Deep disdain flowed in the depths of Xiao Chen's bones. He did not have any desire to activate his blue dragon bloodline. There was no fighting spirit at all. Honored guest, are you not going to give it a try? The remaining 3 will receive prizes from the Soaring Dragon Pavilion. They will also get a significant discount from the auction. When the maidservant in the hall saw Xiao Chen's indifferent appearance, shock flashed in her eyes. Actually, the prize was secondary. What they were fighting for was honor and face. Xiao Chen wanted to give it a try. However, it was clear that he was not interested in the blue dragon bloodline. Naturally, he would not forcefully activate his great desolate divine eyes. Furthermore, Xiao Chen was not the kind of person who liked to show off in front of others. There was no point in fighting for some vanity. Xiao Chen looked at this maidservant. It was this maidservant whom he met twice. It could be considered fate. He smiled kindly and said, "Just call me Xiao Chen." The maidservant smiled and said, "In that case, young Master Xiao, just call me Xiao Yu." Xiao Yu Xiao Yu. It sounds pretty good. Xiao Chen said indifferently as he picked up his wine cup, no longer chatting idly. Actually, there were people like Xiao Chen who did not dare to be interested. For example, Jiang He giggled as he watched the scene before him from his private room. How lively! The Soaring Dragon Pavilion played this beautifully, stirring up the competitive spirit of the people of the same generation. Furthermore, it can test who is truly an outstanding talent worthy of nurturing. I wonder how many talents the Soaring Dragon Marquis has sent to the Soaring Dragon Marquis over the years? However, he could not help but reveal a disdainful expression as he looked at the various outstanding talents fighting for the top spot. Strange, why did I not see Brother Zhao's gaze? Don't tell me you were defeated so quickly? I still want to see what kind of bloodline it is. Jiang He was quite interested in Xiao Chen, who wielded the tyrant blade. Of course, he was more interested in his wealth. Whether they could obtain that life juice source or not, they placed all their hopes on Brother Xiao. Brother Xiao Chen, I have high hopes for you. Ling Yu closed his eyes and cried out in pain. Just now, when he looked into someone's eyes, he felt a chill run down his spine. Their auras clashed and their bloodlines contended for supremacy. The opponent was too powerful. In merely 10 breaths, he was defeated and could only close his eyes. "Are you all right?" Xiao Chen asked. Ling Yu rested for a while before opening his eyes. He smiled and said, "I'm fine. There will always be someone stronger. However, this is still an improvement. The last time I came, I did not defeat a single person. This is all thanks to Martial Uncle's life juice source. Otherwise, how could my bloodline power have improved so much?" Ling Yu had shown off his sharpness in the Purple Flame sect. However, outside, he could easily recognize his own strength. He was neither arrogant nor rash, easily satisfied. When the maidservant at the side heard this, she did not show any surprise in her eyes. It was like she already knew. However, this made sense. It was normal for the Soaring Dragon Pavilion's people to send Xiao Chen to auction the life juice source. When only 3 pairs of eyes remained in the pavilion, the competition ended and the auction began. Xiao Chen was not too interested in the items being auctioned. He closed his eyes and rested, directly cultivating. Xiao Yu looked at Xiao Chen, who had his eyes closed. Then she looked at the saber that never left his hand, feeling this novelty. The auction proceeded in an orderly fashion. Ling Yu was very interested, occasionally chatting excitedly with Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu was very knowledgeable. She knew the origins of every auction item and spoke about them. This broadened Ling Yu's horizons. At the same time, he felt ashamed. Unexpectedly, his knowledge could not even compare to that of a maidservant of the Soaring Dragon Pavilion. "Xiao Yu, I heard that the master behind your Soaring Dragon Pavilion is Cluster Lord Goyu. Is that true?" Ling Yu did not hold back, casually asking about a topic that interested him. Xiao Yu nodded slightly. "The Cluster Lord places great importance on the Soaring Dragon Pavilion. She will definitely attend every large-scale auction." When Ling Yu heard this, he immediately perked up. He looked around and said, "That is to say, the Cluster Lord has already arrived at the Soaring Dragon Pavilion. Perhaps she is in one of the boxes. Could it be that our fight just now was also witnessed by Her Highness? Since this Soaring Dragon Pavilion is not established for profit, there has to be some other purpose. After thinking about it, the only possibility is that it is to rope in geniuses. Hence, what you said is probably correct." Xiao Chen opened his eyes at some point in time. Ling Yu immediately felt somewhat disappointed. "How unfortunate. Otherwise, I would have used my full power earlier." Xiao Chen said out of curiosity, "You are the disciple with the most potential in the Purple Flame sect, yet you are interested in this as well." Ling Yu said with a fervent gaze, "Which outstanding talent of the nearby astral clusters does not want to make a trip to the Central Great Realm? If they can enter the Soaring Dragon Marquis's residence, it would be like connecting the heavens and earth, directly entering the dynasty's core." Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Ling Yu's words allowed him to see a new path, a path to enter the Central Great Realm in advance. However, Xiao Chen did not think too much about it in the blink of an eye. His original intentions had not changed, never changing. He was someone determined to become the Dragon Emperor. How could he join a dynasty's marquis's residence? If he did not have so many ambitions, the dynasty's marquis's residence would indeed be a good springboard. After a few more years, when he was truly confident, he would personally enter the Great Thousand Realms. He would rely on himself, not anyone else. Is young Master Xiao regretting it? If you are willing, this servant can introduce young Master to the Soaring Cloud Pavilion's upper echelon. When the maidservant, Xiao Yu, saw Xiao Chen's silence, she misunderstood. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "It's fine. Many thanks for Miss Xiao Yu's kind intentions." The next auction item is the Dragon Pattern Cauldron. It has more than 1,000 years of history and is a product of the dragon race. I believe I do not need to explain its value. 500,000 medial-grade spirit jades. Each increment must be no less than 50,000 medial-grade spirit jades. No wonder Xiao Chen opened his eyes. It turned out that it was time for the Dragon Pattern Cauldron's auction. 600,000. 650,000. 700,000. 800,000. 1 million. Before Xiao Chen could say anything, The price instantly soared to 1 million medial-grade spirit jades. This far surpassed Xiao Chen's expectations, flabbergasting him. Xiao Chen frowned heavily and muttered, "Strange. Why is the bidding for an ordinary dragon pattern cauldron so intense?" It was a fact that the dragon pattern cauldron was worth a lot. However, that dragon pattern cauldron was not of high quality. It was one of the more ordinary ones. To dragon race cultivators, it was suitable for cultivation techniques and martial techniques. To others, its value was not that high. At most, it would be 1 million medial-grade spirit jades. However, for some reason, it instantly soared to 1 million. Furthermore, Xiao Chen noticed that the people who called out bids were the same group of people. They all appeared determined to obtain it. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. There was only one explanation. Without exception, all the people who came to buy the cauldron had their eyes on this cauldron. Suddenly, Xiao Yu said, "Young Master Xiao, actually, I was about to say this 3 days ago." Practically every time someone came to look at the cauldron, he would show an enthusiastic expression. This would lead the buyer's judgment to that dragon pattern cauldron. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up as he startled awake. He said, "He was the one who put that cauldron up for auction." He was indeed the one who put it up for auction. When Xiao Chen heard that, he could not help but laugh in frustration. This fellow is really going all out. After thinking about it, Xiao Chen remembered that the other party had indeed, intentionally or unintentionally, strengthened his resolve to buy the dragon pattern cauldron. However, even without Jiang He's words, Xiao Chen still had to buy this cauldron. 2 million. Xiao Chen could not be bothered to continue bidding, so he directly raised the bid to 2 million. The buyout price for that dragon pattern cauldron was 2 million. Back then, the buyer did not buy it at the buyout price. This meant that 2 million exceeded their expectations. Hence, when the bid for 2 million was raised, no one else raised the bid. Thus, Xiao Chen obtained the dragon pattern cauldron as he wished. The dragon pattern cauldron was worth 1 million medial-grade spirit jades. Xiao Chen felt a pang in his heart after spending twice the price. In another private room, Jiang He rejoiced. He could tell that the final bidder was Xiao Chen's voice. "With 2 million medial-grade spirit jades in hand, I am now confident in auctioning off that life juice source. Brother Xiao Chen, you did not make me look favorably upon you in vain. It is worth it." Jiang He giggled and muttered to himself, "However, speaking of which, the dragon pattern cauldron used by the willow leaf saber is not a loss for 2 million spirit jades. It took me a lot of effort to steal it out." The auction continued. Soon, it was time for the life juice source. The fiery scene and the soaring prices made people feel like they were suffocating. 3,500,000. Just as the price soared, a cold and serene voice rang out on the top floor. Everyone's heart immediately sank. They knew that the cluster lord's residence's people had made a move. Ling Yu could not help but look in the direction of the voice. However, he discovered that the private room was tightly sealed, preventing others from checking with their mental energy. Ling Yu was disappointed in his desire to see the cluster lord's true appearance. Ling Yu was not the only one disappointed. Most of the people thought the same. 4 million. Just when the crowd thought that no one would dare to compete with the people from the princess's mansion, a lazy voice sounded. It turned out that Jiang He had made his move. Not caring about anything else, he immediately raised the price to 4 million. The voice from the princess's mansion did not sound again. Before many incredulous gazes, Jiang He successfully won the bid, using the sky-high price of 4 million medial-grade spirit jades to obtain 25 kilograms of the highest quality life juice source. The normal market price of 25 kilograms of life juice source was about 1.5 million medial-grade spirit jades. However, with a bunch of envious bloodline elites bidding for it, the countess's house stepping in, and Jiang He the troublemaker, it was a pleasant surprise for Xiao Chen to make a fortune. Next, there was an ordinary low-grade Dao tool up for auction. This pushed the atmosphere of the entire auction to the peak, and then the auction came to a successful end. Xiao Chen observed the inferior grade Dao tool and was not interested in it. It was tasteless, but it was a pity to throw it away. It was of little value. However, it was a Dao tool after all. Using it as the finale item showed the Soaring Dragon Pavilion's sincerity. Similarly, it attracted the most bidders. Chapter 1716. The auction ended. By relying on the life juice source, not only did Xiao Chen not spend a single cent, but after deducting his expenses, he even obtained 2 million medial-grade spirit jades. Young Master Xiao, do you really not need me to introduce you? The Soaring Dragon Pavilion is very curious about young Master Xiao obtaining the life juice source. The pretty maidservant, Xiao Yu, blinked her eyes and looked at Xiao Chen delicately. The originally hot and seductive maid suddenly became like a lotus flower in clear water, making one feel tender and lovable. Xiao Chen said indifferently, I exchanged my life for it. There's nothing to be curious about. We'll meet again if fate allows it. Xiao Chen was not very interested in the Soaring Dragon Pavilion's invitation, so he could only reject the beauty's kind intentions. Xiao Yu was stunned for a moment. She did not expect Xiao Chen to reject her so decisively. She smiled and said, Have a safe journey. I hope we will meet again in the future. Goodbye. After exchanging greetings, Xiao Chen put away the dragon pattern cauldron and left. Outside the gates, he coincidentally ran into Jiang He. He had a cocky smile on his face as he toyed with the jade bottle containing the life juice source in his hand, attracting the attention of many people. It was hard not to notice such a high-profile and casual action. Ignoring the dissatisfied gazes, Jiang He strode toward Xiao Chen and smiled. God of Fortune, no, Brother Xiao, congratulations on obtaining the cauldron. Xiao Chen said with a smile, You're too polite. You're not bad yourself. You gained quite a lot. You even dare to oppose the people from the princess's mansion. How courageous of you! When Ling Yu saw that Jiang He was a conman, Jiang He did not even bat an eyelid. In terms of acting skills, martial uncle was still better. This fellow thought that he had fooled his martial uncle and was very pleased with himself. However, Xiao Chen did not know that the life juice source in his hand was put up for auction by his martial uncle. Jiang He laughed out loud. It's fine, it's fine. The people of the Cluster Lord's residence are nothing. How about it? Do you need life juice source? I'll share some with you. I can't give you more than half a tael. That's not a problem. Ling Yu nearly could not hold back his laughter. After all, his martial uncle had given him 50 kilograms of life juice source. How could he have the cheek to give away half a tael? That was what Jiang He was thinking. No matter what, he had to screw over Xiao Chen. He felt somewhat apologetic. Without the other party's spirit jades, he would not have been able to bid for it. Half a tael was a sign of gratitude. Well, don't be so polite with me. Otherwise, it means that you don't treat me as a friend. Seeing that Xiao Chen was silent, Jiang He deliberately put on a serious face and emphasized his tone. Xiao Chen showed a somewhat embarrassed expression. You gave me 2 million spirit jades, yet you want me to accept your life juice source? How can I accept that? Don't treat us to a drink. After all, you spent a lot on the life juice source, Xiao Chen said after some consideration. Jiang He laughed out loud. Ha, what a brother. Come, let's go to the Smiling Daughter Pavilion. My treat. Xiao Chen muttered to himself. The name sounded like a romantic place. Smiling Daughter Pavilion. It wasn't a brothel, but compared to ordinary restaurants, there were more elegant performers playing musical instruments. True to its name, the Smile of 1,000 gold, one would have to pay an extremely high price to obtain the company of these performers. As for the Smile of 1,000 gold, it was one of the top 3 establishments in the Yanwu dynasty's capital. It had sufficient charm and fame to attract the outstanding talents to spend large sums of money here. The famous performers could even incite the scions to fight over them, all for the sake of a beautiful woman's smile and showing off before others. In Soaring Dragon City, this kind of thing happened frequently. However, Xiao Chen rarely went to such places, so he did not know much about them. The Smile of 1,000 gold had a total of 8 floors. The higher one went, the more one needed to spend. For the sake of showing off one's wealth and status, the outstanding talents who came here would do their best to go to a higher floor. Clearly, this was not Jiang He's first time here. He smiled at the maidservant and said, To the 6th floor. The 6th floor was the highest floor that ordinary people could go to. Any higher and required special status and invitations. Our Smile of 1,000 Gold is the best restaurant in the nearby dozens of astral clusters. As long as one has enough spirit jades, beautiful performers can personally serve you. That maidservant did not hide anything from Xiao Qin and Ling Yu. She smiled charmingly, causing Ling Yu to blush slightly. Xiao Qin's expression did not change as he entered the elegant room and sat down. An exquisite landscape painting hung on the wall behind him. The painting was exquisite. Xiao Qin did not know which mountain it was, but it gave the illusion that he was there. When sitting at the back, it felt like a wind blew and clouds drifted around him. It was very wondrous. The decorations were elegant and refined, giving off a unique charm. This pavilion is indeed extraordinary, Xiao Qin thought. It is indeed extraordinary to be able to attract outstanding talents to spend so much money here. Jiang He asked that maidservant in a familiar manner, "Are there any headliners today?" Reporting to young master, "Today is the Luo River Waterflower Day. The 10 headliners will take turns appearing." The maidservant smiled faintly, answering as she served wine. Jiang He's eyes lit up. He smiled and said, "Interesting. Brothers, you came at the right time. I should have guessed it." The Soaring Dragon Pavilion just held a large-scale auction, and the Smiling Daughter Pavilion's Luo River Waterflower Day will be brought forward. After that, Jiang He waved his hand and said, "You can withdraw first. Remember to arrange for 4 performers with exquisite zither skills and 3 pretty ladies to drink with us." The maidservant nodded and withdrew. Ling Yu asked in confusion, "What is the Luo River Waterflower Day?" Jiang He explained with a smile, "Normally, the Smiling Daughter Pavilion will only occasionally have a headliner appear. After they perform, they will have people bid for them. The Luo River Waterflower Day occurs only once every 3 months. The 10 headliners take turns performing, each displaying their skills. It is very rare to see them." Ling Yu's lips curled up as he said, "They are just some performers. Why would they care so much about them?" "You don't understand." Jiang He clinked cups with Xiao Qin. Then he said, "The 10 headliners are all extremely beautiful and have their own charm. Furthermore, their cultivations are all higher than yours. In terms of talent and air, there is no need to mention them. They have been practicing this since they were young. In the Yanwu dynasty's capital, the top 10 performers have countless experts working for them with just a word." Ling Yu was startled when he heard this, feeling dubious. Xiao Qin entered deep thought. Aside from the 3,000 Great Tao, there were also 800 side paths. Indeed, there were people who could comprehend the Tao from music. However, without experiencing killing and walking the line between life and death, no matter how high one's cultivation was, one would just be a pretty face. However, Xiao Qin had not seen any experts of the Great Thousand Realms that cultivated the music Tao. He wanted to see how strong the so-called headliners of the Smiling Daughter Pavilion were. Jiang He said, "Aside from this Smiling Daughter Pavilion is definitely the place where news spreads the fastest in the Soaring Dragon Great Realm. Many secrets and recent major events can be heard here." With a thought, Xiao Qin discovered that there were no restrictions in the neighboring rooms. As long as one paid attention, one could clearly hear the news being discussed. Recently, more and more bladesmen came to the Dragon Flame Ancient Land. I believe that after the Soaring Dragon Pavilion's auction ends, there will be more cultivators heading to the Dragon Flame Ancient Land. The Dragon Flame Ancient Land is the land of fortuitous encounters in the Soaring Dragon Great Realm that attracts the most geniuses and outstanding talents. Not only can one find the dragon race's ancient treasures, but one can also exchange moves with people of the same generation for experiential training. Where else can one find such a place? Actually, not really. The various astral clusters have similar experiential training lands. However, they are not like the Soaring Dragon Great Realm, which can attract the outstanding talents of the dozens of nearby astral clusters. Xiao Qin casually listened and heard something that interested him. Dragon race's ancient treasures and the gathering of experts of the same generation. If there was an opportunity, he would have to ask around about the Dragon Flame ancient land. This was the time when he needed experiential training. Soon, four performers entered the private room. After they bowed slightly, zither music slowly rang out. There were also 3 pretty girls sitting obediently at the side, pouring wine and chatting with them. After 3 rounds of wine, the sound of clear flowing water rang out on the 8th floor of the Smiling Daughter Pavilion. Xiaochun looked up and saw mist spreading above. Amid the hazy mist, he saw a flower boat drifting over, approaching from afar. The ethereal zither music, the clear water, and the hazy mist stirred one's imagination. All of a sudden, the clamor from all the floors quieted down. Everyone knew that the Real show was about to start. All they needed to do was wait. As the flower boat approached, it was like a painting slowly unfurling. When the mist scattered, a young maidservant walked out of the flower boat. She looked exquisite and obedient, dressed in white. Amidst the mist, she was as pure as a fairy, making one feel tender and lovable. The young maidservant carried a flower basket and took out a green medallion. As she stood on the flower boat, she said in a condescending manner, "The first headliner to appear tonight is Miss Ling Long, a green medallion. Miss Ling Long excels at dancing the pipa. She was once the music teacher of the Yanwu dynasty's little princess. She has been in the palace for 3 years and is well-read. She is very knowledgeable and has studied Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism." This was Ling Yu's first time seeing such a lineup. This broadened his horizons and shocked him. He whispered to Jiang He, "Big brother Jiang, what do red and green medallions mean?" Jiang He burst into laughter and said, "You are still young. Don't ask such questions. Don't say anything. Miss Ling Long will be coming out soon." Chapter 1717. The maidservant girl left the cloud water wonderland on the 8th floor, and an elegant and pretty girl walked out of the flower boat. A commotion immediately broke out in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion as the delinquents called out Ling Long's name. Xiaochun looked at that girl. She was indeed as pretty as a flower, devastatingly beautiful. Her appearance and aura were excellent. Of course, what shocked Xiaochun even more was that this girl was actually a major primal core venerate. Just based on surface strength, this girl was actually stronger than Xiao Chen's. What Jiang He said was true. Ling Yu showed an embarrassed expression, still conflicted over the earlier question. He raised his head to look at that girl. With just one glance, he was stunned as he held up his wine cup. Ling Long hugged the pipa and nodded gently. Then her delicate, lily-white hands started to gently play the pipa. The beautiful pipa music rang out, sounding melodious and pleasing to the ears. The music seemed to ring out right beside them, telling a beautiful story. The moment the pipa music rang out, the noisy place fell silent. Everyone became immersed in this wonderful state. The green mountains and flowing water moved along with the stream. When one closed one's eyes, the beautiful scene that seemed like the wind was right before one's eyes, within reach. Slowly, the many decorations in the elegant room and the landscape paintings on the walls seemed to come to life. The beautiful girl carved on the screen seemed to come to life. Mixed with the pipa music coming from the boat above the clouds and water, it was extremely beautiful, like a poem or a painting. The large strings were like a torrential rain, and the small strings were like whispers. The music was noisy and disorderly, like pearls of various sizes falling on a jade plate. The Oriole's words were smooth, like the flowing ice of the serene spring. There was no need to worry or hate. At this moment, silence spoke louder than words. At some point in time, the music had already stopped. However, everyone remained immersed in it, not opening their eyes. Wonderful! Xiaochun could not help praising as he slowly opened his eyes. However, he discovered that Jiang He had already opened his eyes at the same time. "Brother Xiao, did you hear anything from it?" Xiaochun took a sip of wine and replied, "No. I only felt that the string music was wonderful and ever-changing. It blended with the decorations in the elegant room, making one involuntarily immersed in it. However, when her song broke off at the end, it seemed like she wanted to express more. There were still many emotions that she wanted to express, but for some reason she suddenly stopped. Jiang He smiled and said, "All right, then I'll fulfill Brother Zhao's doubts. I'll have headliner Ling Long accompany you tonight." He casually waved his hand and a streak of crystal light flew toward the window. Countless medial-grade spirit jades flew out of his storage ring, forming a dazzling belt of light. Wah wah wah. The moment the spirit jade flew out, it automatically flew toward the flower basket in the young maid's hand. 100,000 medial-grade spirit jades for Miss Ling Long's token. Jiang He was very generous, spending 100,000 medial-grade spirit jades with a wave of his hand like flowing water. However, the flower basket in the hands of the young maidservant didn't reveal anything as she directly stored the spiritual jades in it. How extravagant! 100,000 medial-grade spirit jades in one go. Which rich guest is this? Everyone was startled awake from the music. Seeing such a large sum of money, they were all shocked. 100,000 medial-grade spirit jades was not a small sum. Ordinary people would not dare to spend so casually. It was not that one could not take out 100,000 medial-grade spirit jades. Rather, one would spend 100,000 medial-grade spirit jades just to win the favor of a beauty. It's him. He is the Jiang He who won the life juice source in the Soaring Dragon Pavilion. No wonder he is so generous. He is someone who can afford 4 million medial-grade spirit jades. Naturally, 100,000 medial-grade spirit jades is nothing. I heard that he even offended the people of the Cluster Lord's residence. He showed himself in the limelight and stirred up many people's dissatisfaction. Jiang He did not mind at all. All sorts of discussions were going on, and he kept smiling as if nothing could trouble him. 200,000 medial-grade spirit jades. Just as Jiang He thought that he was in the bag, a clear voice rang out, and 200,000 medial-grade spirit jades flew into the flower basket. Jiang He's face sank. That voice seemed to be directed at him, directly doubling the price. Clearly, there was a deeper meaning behind it. 300,000 medial-grade spirit jades. Jiang He had already made his offer to Xiaoqin. He could not possibly not bid. 400,000 medial-grade spirit jades. 500,000 medial-grade spirit jades. 1 million medial-grade spirit jades. Bush. Light flickered in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion. Crystalline ribbons of light made of spirit jades moved about, making the pavilion resplendent and dazzling. The unassuming flower basket flickered with light that nearly covered the entire place, dazzling everyone's eyes. When the 1 million medial-grade spirit jades entered the flower basket, countless beautiful flowers flew out. In that instant, flowers filled the air in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion. They were very beautiful, looking indescribably beautiful. Jiang He showed a sullen expression, but he could not continue bidding. The other party raised the price to 1 million medial-grade spirit jades, making it impossible for him to continue. Everyone in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion knew that someone was purposely making things difficult for him, wanting to trample on him in front of everyone. Flowers fill the hall. This is my first time seeing such a scene. That person must have tossed in at least 4 or 5 million medial-grade spirit jades. This is rare. This is my first time seeing people compete so fiercely. This is too crazy. Is there such a need? That is the heavenly profound gates Feng Chen, the flowing cloud sects Qin Yun, and the Thunderflame castles Yen Yuan. I remember them. Earlier, in the Soaring Dragon Pavilion's Divine Eye Contest, the 3 of them were at the very end. No wonder they are making things difficult for Jiang He. It turns out that they formed a grudge in the Soaring Dragon Pavilion. Interesting. This time, Jiang He's face is slapped in a miserable manner. Excited cheers immediately rang out in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion. Spectators were always like this, never complaining about things blowing out of proportion. Jiang He shrugged and smiled helplessly. It can't be helped. In the end, I can't overturn Miss Ling Long's reputation. In the earlier competition, the bids totaled up to 2 million medial-grade spirit jades. Right now, Xiaoqin could no longer take out any more spirit jades. The other party was at a disadvantage against him alone. Ling Yu felt somewhat flabbergasted. This competition allowed him to see for himself. In just a few blinks of an eye, Xiaochen, pauper. If you can't afford to play, then don't play. You are already giving face to the cluster lord in the soaring cloud pavilion, not making things difficult for you. To think that you still dare to come to the smiling daughter pavilion to show your might. Just as Xiaochen was about to speak, a sarcastic voice came from the private room that had been making things difficult for Jiang He. In the private room across, Feng Chen, Qin Yun, and Yen Yuan showed cold smiles and mockery as they sipped their wine in an indifferent manner. The heavenly profound gates, Feng Chen said indifferently, let's see if he can still smile in the smiling daughter pavilion. Yen Yuan put down his wine cup heavily and said, this fellow really does not know the rules. I wonder where this foreigner came from to be so arrogant. He is truly reckless. Tonight I'll show him the rules. These three were the outstanding talents of the many nearby astral clusters. In the Divine Eye contest in the Soaring Dragon Pavilion, they had been in the limelight. Who could have imagined that this Jiang He, who came out of nowhere, would win the life juice source in such a high-profile manner? Furthermore, he showed his might in the Soaring Cloud Pavilion without any fear. This upset the three long ago. After they investigated Jiang He's background, they followed him to the Smiling Daughter Pavilion. They did this for no other reason than to suppress Jiang He's sharpness and force him to spit out the life juice source. When Jiang He heard this, he immediately revealed a murderous intent on his face. A playful smile flashed in his eyes. Xiaochen pressed down on Jiang He's hand and said, play with them. This Smiling Daughter Pavilion was not a place where he could take the initiative to attack. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Jiang He waved his hand, and 2 million medial-grade spirit jades flew out of his palm. They turned into a gorgeous beam of light and entered the flower basket. In the private room, Feng Chen, Qin Yun, and Qin Yun were all stupefied. The 2 million medial-grade spirit jades of light persisted for a long time before the flower basket absorbed them all. When everyone saw this, they all exclaimed in shock. Their mouths gaped in disbelief. The flower basket in the maidservant girl's hand immediately shot out a dazzling 7-colored light, illuminating the 8th floor. Between the clouds and water, it looked like a paradise on earth. Whoosh! A fairy-like beauty flew out of the 7-colored light, performing a sword dance in the air. Her beauty was boundless, attracting the attention of the girl performing the sword dance in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion. Her extraordinary appearance gave off a hazy air. This attracted everyone to stand up and go to the window. Then, they opened their eyes wide and did their best to look. They only wanted to see that fairy's appearance. Everyone was intoxicated by this girl's beauty, unable to extricate themselves. In the end, a sword soared through the air, dominating the world. Snow and ice gathered into pure white flowers that drifted down, looking boundlessly beautiful. The fairy performed the sword dance, and ice flowers bloomed. This was on a much higher level than the earlier mysterious phenomenon of flowers blooming in the hall. Everyone was intoxicated, unable to say a word. This was the Hall of Flowers intoxicating 3,000 guests, one sword frost 14 provinces. Chapter 1718. Flowers fill the hall, intoxicating 3,000 guests. One sword cold 14 provinces. Above the clouds, the flower basket in the maidservant girl's hand gave off a mysterious phenomenon. This poem was the best way to describe it. Everyone in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion became intoxicated by the ice flowers filling the sky, feeling like they melted into their hearts. Many people stood at the windows and craned their necks to look at the flower boat. However, after that fairy girl swept her sword across the sky and soared into the sky, she returned to the flower basket and did not appear again. This made everyone feel empty in their hearts, like they had lost something. They felt heartache and brooded over it. The girl known as Ling Long hugged her Peepa in the flower boat. She showed a calm expression, only showing some surprise. He truly did not expect that in this soaring dragon city, there would actually be a phenomenon that would only occasionally appear in the imperial capital of the empire. That flower basket had a great origin. It was forged with great care. In terms of complexity, it was even more complex than a Peak Dao tool. The Smiling Daughter Pavilion could amass wealth on a large scale, relying on the talents and outstanding talents to compete with each other. To a large extent, it relied on this flower basket. The flower basket also had a very nice name. It was called the Fairy Basket. It was said that not only could it emit all sorts of strange phenomena, but it was also able to create many strange phenomena. It was said that not only could it give off many mysterious phenomena, but the person in charge of every branch of the Smiling Daughter Pavilion could also control the flower basket to defend against enemies. The Fairy Basket in the dynasty's headquarters was a peak existence that surpassed Dao tools. The various branches had peak Dao tools. 2 million medial-grade spirit jades. No one else is bidding. Congratulations to this young master for obtaining headliner Ling Long's card. The maidservant girl smiled as the green card in her hand turned into a beam of light, flying towards the private room where Xiao Chen was. Whoosh! Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and caught the green card. The words, Ling Long, were written on the front. It was a piece of superior-grade jasper. Jiang He laughed loudly. I thought that trash like you could be very powerful. You are only a sosa. It turns out that you only know how to argue. In the end, you are not even comparable to a pauper. Feng Chen, Chen Yun, and Yen Yuan showed sullen expressions, showing unsightly expressions. After being humiliated in such a manner before the many honored guests of the Smiling Daughter Pavilion, Xiao Chen found it hard to swallow. They had already trampled Jiang He underfoot, but who could have imagined that Xiao Chen would suddenly show up and slap them back? They didn't even have the strength to fight back. I can't stand it anymore. The hot-tempered Thunder Flame Castle's Flame Yuan was about to erupt in anger. Don't be rash. Let's wait for them to leave first. Feng Chen said indifferently. A trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Originally, he did not want to be a match for Xiao Chen. After all, he was a member of a rank 4 sect, unlike Jiang He, who had no background. However, Feng Chen could not care so much right now. He took a sip of wine and said, Let's go. There is no need to stay here and embarrass ourselves. After speaking, Feng Chen stood up and led Chen Yun and Yen Yuan out of the private room. They walked along the corridor and headed downstairs. As soon as the three of them appeared, they were immediately noticed by countless people and their gloomy faces. Many people knew that today's matter could not be resolved peacefully. In Jiang He's private room, he could see Feng Chen and the other two walking out with dark expressions through the window. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. These three were all on the same level as Shangguan Lei. This was somewhat problematic, but that was all, just somewhat problematic. Jiang He said casually, Don't mind them. They are just some flies. The true experts of the Soaring Dragon Great Realm are not in Soaring Dragon City. Surprised, Xiao Chen asked, Where are they then? Jiang He smiled and replied, The Dragon Flame Ancient Land. Aside from the Soaring Dragon Marquee, the main reason why the Soaring Dragon Great Realm can become the center of the nearby dozens of astral clusters is because of the Dragon Flame Ancient Land. That is a dangerous land that existed when the dragon race was still around. The environment is harsh, and flame beasts roam about. Who knows how many outstanding talents who cultivated bitterly hid there? Only those who killed their way through life and death situations can be called experts. These people are all showy but impractical. They are far from being experts. Dragon Flame Ancient Land. When Xiao Chen heard this name again, he felt surprised. If he had a chance, he had to see it for himself. After the two chatted for a while, someone knocked on the door. The headliner Ling Long had finished her preparations and kept her promise, coming to accompany the guests. Ling Long carried a pipa and wore plain clothes as she slowly walked in. When she saw Xiao Chen and Jiang He, she bowed respectfully. This performer was indeed extraordinary up close. It was a completely different feeling from looking at her from afar. Jiang He smiled and said, Miss Ling Long, it was really not easy to invite you here tonight. Ling Long smiled faintly and said, Duke Jiang, you are exaggerating. This concubine had no choice. Jiang He smiled casually and said, It's fine. You accompany my brother. I'm going out to relieve myself. When Xiao Chen heard that, he felt slightly stunned. Honestly speaking, he somewhat regretted his earlier actions. Xiao Chen did not feel much about the pipa that this headliner Ling Long played. He only felt that the music was very profound. It was too unfortunate that she did not finish playing some of the states. A large part of the reason why Ling Long was willing to throw out 2 million medial-grade spirit jades was because she earned them from Jiang He. Ling Long could not bear to see Jiang He humiliated, so she used his spirit jades to help Jiang He regain his face. After Jiang He left, Ling Long looked at Xiao Chen and asked, "Young Master Xiao, do you like to listen to the pipa?" Xiao Chen did not say anything. Instead, he said calmly, "Miss Ling Long, can you perform the unfinished pipa song that you played on the flower boat in its entirety?" Ling Long felt somewhat surprised. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen made such a simple request. However, Ling Long truly could not fulfill such a request. She said helplessly, "Sorry, I really cannot finish playing this song. The lyrics and music came from the ancients, but it is incomplete and unfinished." Incomplete? No wonder. However, that's fine. If it were the complete song, I would forget it after listening to it. On the contrary, an incomplete song would leave a deeper impression. If I can find the rest of the lyrics and music in the future, I will come and get Miss Ling Long to perform it. When Xiao Chen heard that, he felt that it was unfortunate. However, he immediately felt at ease. His mental state was calm. He would not be overly stubborn about many things, able to give and take. Ling Long smiled in her heart. What a strange person. She nodded and said, "If you can find the latter half of this pipa song, you can come to the Yanwu dynasty's capital to look for me." Xiao Chen did not know anything about the music Dao. However, headliner Ling Long had a good impression of Xiao Chen. As she spoke, she patiently explained things to Xiao Chen, allowing him to gain some knowledge. Unexpectedly, the music Dao was similarly vast and profound, no weaker than the saber Dao or the sword Dao. This was Ling Long's first time seeing someone more interested in the music Dao than her. Hence, Ling Long spoke exceptionally seriously. The two chatted happily, practically ignoring Ling Yu and the other maidservants. Aside from bringing pleasure and enjoyment, the music Dao could also kill with sound. Furthermore, it was even more terrifying. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it could kill without leaving a trace. A strong cultivator of the music Dao could even block a vast army with one song, shattering mountains and rivers and causing the world to crumble. However, such strong cultivators of the music Dao were becoming increasingly rare. The reason was none other than the fact that the music Dao was simply too difficult to cultivate. Compared to the saber Dao or the sword Dao, the music Dao had stricter requirements on talent. Furthermore, it needed to be practiced from a young age. After sending off the headliner Ling Long, Xiao Chen felt that the 2 million spirit jades he spent was worth it. At the very least, he would have a way to deal with troublesome cultivators of the music Dao in the future, preventing them from happening. After sending off the headliner Ling Long, Jiang He entered the private room. When he saw Ling Long's face beaming with happiness, he exclaimed in shock, "Miss Ling Long, you already left. How unfortunate." Xiao Chen thought to himself, "This Jiang He is definitely up to something. I just do not know what he did. I'm leaving. Many thanks to Brother Jiang for the wine. The two of us will be taking our leave as well," Xiao Chen said as he and Ling Yu stood up. Jiang He smiled confidently and said, "Let's go. I'll send you off and deal with those 3 pieces of trash while I'm at it. They have probably been waiting for a long time." After leaving the Smiling Daughter Pavilion, Jiang He and Xiao Chen were immediately stupefied. They saw more than 100 cultivators with Feng Chen and Yen Yuan in the lead. None of them had low cultivations. These people blocked Xiao Chen's and Jiang He's paths, showing hostile expressions. Jiang He said somewhat helplessly, "I seem to have forgotten that the sects behind these 3 have a faction in Soaring Dragon City. There were more than 100 primal core venerates and 3 outstanding talents comparable to Shangguan Lei. No matter how Xiao Chen looked at it, he could not win this battle." Chapter 1719. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. This matter was somewhat unexpected. If it were just Yen Yuan and the other 2, Xiao Chen would not fear them at all. If it were just Jiang He and himself, they could easily defeat the other party. However, so many people came at once. Furthermore, they were all primal core venerates. Many of them were even major primal core experts. This would be somewhat difficult. However, it was only a little difficult to deal with. Given that Xiao Chen had a Dao tool, it was practically impossible to stop him. On the other hand, Ling Yu was somewhat problematic. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "Ling Yu, return to the pavilion and look for Miss Ling Long, get her to arrange for you to leave." Ling Yu understood the gravity of the matter. He also believed in his martial uncle's strength and did not have to worry about his life. "Martial uncle, take care." Right after Ling Yu spoke, he turned around and returned to the Smiling Daughter Pavilion. As for Xiao Chen and Jiang He, they did not think of hiding for now. These people were here for the two of them. Ling Yu's departure would not attract their attention. However, it would not be so easy for Feng Chen and Jiang He to leave. Feng Chen looked at Xiao Chen and said softly, "Xiao Chen, this matter has nothing to do with you in the first place. You can leave now." In Feng Chen's opinion, Xiao Chen had the Purple Flames sect behind him. It was best not to offend him if possible. His main target was Jiang He, the life Ju source on him. Feng Chen offended the Cluster Lord and did not have any sect backing him. Furthermore, Feng Chen liked to show off before others. He had already made up his mind to teach Jiang He a lesson in the Soaring Dragon Pavilion. Xiao Chen ignored Feng Chen. Leaving Jiang He behind and leaving on his own was clearly not in line with his character. Furthermore, the life Ju source that brought Jiang He disaster happened to come from Feng Chen. Jiang He patted Xiao Chen's shoulder and smiled. "You are indeed a good brother. I did not spend a lot of money to invite you to the Smiling Daughter Pavilion in vain. Let's kill our way out. I'll block these three good-for-nothings." Right after Jiang He spoke, he took a step forward and charged towards Feng Chen. "You are seeking death." Feng Chen instantly attacked with the sword in his hand. A strong sword intent slowly spread out and formed a vast sword light. As the sword light pressed down, prung prung prung, the floorboards on the street all exploded and flew in all directions. Smiling faintly, Jiang He unsheathed his saber and pressed down. With a loud boom, all the scattered floorboards shattered into dust. Ding! The saber and sword clashed, giving off a loud sound. Feng Chen was knocked back by the saber strike. When he landed, he revealed a shocked expression. Jiang He smiled faintly. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you that you're a weakling." Feng Chen was enraged. He swung his sword backward and attacked again. At the same time, Yen Yuan and Qin Yun could no longer stand by and watch. They attacked together, the three of them completely surrounding Jiang He. The situation immediately became somewhat unfavorable. Although these three people were arrogant and despotic, their strength was undeniable. They were all existences on the same level as Shangguan Lei. This was especially so for Feng Chen, who was even more powerful. Xiao Chen hugged his tyrant saber, not in a rush to attack. He wanted to see Jiang He's true strength. Jiang He's situation was ugly in the face of the trio's attacks, but he remained at ease and did not fall into real danger. Jiang He's movement technique was very profound, giving off a familiar feeling. After watching for a while, Xiao Chen suddenly startled to his senses. Blue Dragon Cloud Soaring Art. That was right. This was a dragon race movement technique, very similar to the Blue Dragon Cloud Soaring Art. However, it was clearly superior. Jiang He moved around in a small area like a dragon, moving its head and wagging its tail. Together with the saber in his hand, he easily repelled the three's attacks. Jiang He dealt with danger multiple times, always remaining undefeatable. Jiang He smiled and said, "Three weaklings. You are only SSO even when you work together. You are seeking death. Activate your bloodline and kill him." The three of them were truly enraged, feeling very sullen. Feng Chen was the first to activate his bloodline. Next were Yen Yuan and Qin Yun. The three of them had suppressed many of their peers in the Soaring Cloud Pavilion with their bloodline power. This showed how strong their bloodline power was. Now that they activated their bloodlines at the same time, the great Desolate Aeon's divine might spread out. They instantly gained a suppressive advantage, forcing Jiang He back step by step. For the first time, a grave expression appeared on Feng Chen's face. At the same time, his eyes flickered with some hesitation. Feng Chen was also someone with a great desolate Ian bloodline. However, he seemed to have some misgivings and did not want to reveal it in public. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. He knew that he could not continue watching and had to make a move. Tyrant saber, breaking vast armies. The saber moved like a rainbow, and a tyrannical might mixed with the thunder great Tao and the saber great Tao spread out in an unparalleled berserk manner. Then, it carried Xiao Chen and clashed with the three who activated their great desolate Ian bloodlines. When Jiang He saw this, the grave expression on his face faded somewhat, and he laughed loudly. The saber in Jiang He's hand trembled intensely. In the next moment, it gave off a resplendent saber light and the great Tao's might. Immediately, the three great Tao's might merged together. They clashed intensely with the three's great desolate Ian divine might, erupting with startling mysterious phenomena. Without activating their bloodline power, the two completely blocked the three's terrifying great desolate Ian divine might with just their Tao might. In the next moment, both sides exchanged moves. A chaotic battle ensued. Saber light clashed with sword light, saber technique clashed with sword technique, great Tao's might clashed with the great desolate Ian divine might. Horrifying auras spread out in all directions, attracting countless people to stop and watch. Soaring Dragon City never lacked great battles. However, it was rare to see such a scene between two bladesmen. Two bladesmen actually blocked three people with great desolate Ian bloodlines without activating their bloodlines and only relying on the saber in their hands. After a while, both sides moved back. Now, Xiao Chen and Jiang He stood side by side. Blood leaked out of a corner of their lips, indicating that they were slightly injured. After activating their great desolate Ian bloodlines, their combat prowess increased explosively. Given the three's cultivation, they could approach the strength of a Cloud Sea Star Venerate. Even with the three's Tao might merged, there was still a small gap. However, the two still relied on their exquisite saber techniques to block. Yen Yuan and the other two each had a terrifying saber wound on their bodies. What was even more terrifying was that these wounds contained Tao energy. These wounds could not heal in a short time. Blood gushed out, looking rather terrifying. "What are you staring blankly for? Attack together!" Feng Chen shouted coldly. He no longer dared to clash head-on with Xiao Chen and Jiang He. The 100 venerates behind him raised their weapons and charged at Xiao Chen and Jiang He, who had just clashed. Xiao Chen and Jiang He immediately split up, each fighting in a different direction. A minor primal core venerate with a Tao tool infused with two kinds of Tao might could not block even one saber strike from him. However, a major primal core venerate could not block more than 3 moves. If not for their advantage in numbers and the fact that they were all rank 4 sect disciples, Xiao Chen and Jiang He would have charged out long ago and would not suffer any injuries. Kill! Seeing that the situation was bad, Yen Yuan and the other two took a breather before charging back into battle. This made the situation even more chaotic. There is no end to this. For the first time, killing chi appeared in Jiang He's eyes. He suddenly spun the saber in his hand, and his aura changed drastically. When Jiang He swung his saber, the entire saber turned heavy. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up as he watched, unable to look away. The Tao might all over Jiang He's body vanished. He became one with the saber, and his sharp eyes focused on the saber's edge. After Jiang He swung his saber, the level of space continuously rose, making Xiao Chen feel like he was in the depths of a fiendish demon battlefield. This startled Xiao Chen. This was his first time seeing such a heavy saber technique. It was like lightning flashed in his mind, shocking him to the extreme. He was completely stunned, forgetting about his current situation. Bang! 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 Everywhere the saber light passed, all the venerates blocking it were chopped in half. Then, their corpses exploded and turned into pools of blood splattering everywhere. Caught off guard, Yen Yuan and the other two were sent flying by the saber light and vomited blood. They felt like their chests had been struck by a hammer. The heavy blow penetrated deep into their blood vessels and meridians, nearly reaching their sea of consciousness and soul. Sweat continuously poured down Jiang He's forehead as he swung his saber. Then, he opened a large opening and immediately fled far away. "Let's go!" Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and quickly followed. It was not easy for him to open a gap. If this group of people surrounded him again, it would take some effort. Swinging a Dao tool was not an easy task. Yen Yuan and the other two, who had fallen to the ground, paled in fright. However, they did not dare to give chase. They could only watch as Xiao Chen and Jiang He quickly fled into the distance, getting further and further away. The two of them sped all the way out of the city before coming to a complete stop. After confirming that it was safe, they stopped running. Jiang He panted, but he showed a wide smile on his face. "Ah, how delightful! Brother Xiao Chen, although I'm sorry, I still have something to tell you." A thought occurred to Xiao Chen. He knew what Jiang He wanted to say. He smiled helplessly and said, "I have something to tell you as well." Chapter 17:20. Confusion appeared on Jiang He's face. After a while, he smiled in embarrassment and said, "Let me say it first. The dragon pattern cauldron that you auctioned was actually mine. I was the one who pushed the bidding price up from behind the scenes. I'm sorry, brother, I cheated you." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Actually, I knew it long ago. However, it's fine. No matter what, I would have won that cauldron." This startled Jiang He. Then he smacked his forehead and laughed. "You are really a fool. I thought that you kept it a secret." Ha! What Xiao Chen said next really made Jiang He's smile turn from laughter into a bitter smile. "The bottle of life juice source that you auctioned was placed there by me." "What?" Jiang He jumped up in shock, feeling stupefied. The expression on his face was as fascinating as one could imagine. After a while, Jiang He gave Xiao Chen a thumbs up. Then, he said depressedly, "I was acting stupid earlier. Now, I really became stupid. I thought that I owed you, so I specially invited you to the Smiling Daughter Pavilion. It turns out that I was the one who gave you money. How pitiful." When Xiao Chen saw Jiang He's expression, he could not help but smile as well. "That's all right. In the end, I gave the spirit jades to the Smiling Daughter Pavilion, helping you regain your face." Who knew? When Jiang He heard that, he smiled mysteriously. "It is indeed all right. Ha! I managed to get back that fairy basket in the end." Right after Jiang He spoke, a flower basket appeared in his hand. This was the mysterious flower basket that the maidservant in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion held. "Ha! How can I, Jiang He, suffer losses when I go out? That Smiling Daughter Pavilion wants to cheat me of my money. Dream on." Jiang He felt incredibly cocky. In the end, the spirit jades still ended up in his hands. This time, this truly startled Xiao Chen. It turned out that when he said that he was going out to relieve himself, he was actually going to steal the flower basket. No wonder Jiang He immediately left when he heard that Xiao Chen was leaving. So, that was what happened. With the flower basket gone, the performers could not make an appearance. They would definitely suspect the guests. Jiang He used this opportunity to come out and fight with Feng Chen and the others, preventing the Smiling Daughter Pavilion's people from suspecting him. Since he was fighting with someone and in big trouble, how could he be in the mood to steal the flower basket? In an instant, he was cleared of suspicion. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly. "You're good." Jiang He replied calmly, "It's nothing much. I'm taking the spirit jades inside, so you can have the fairy basket." After saying that, he casually threw the fairy basket to Xiao Chen, not caring about it at all. Xiao Chen took it with some astonishment. "For me?" Jiang He nodded. "I've been wandering around for so long, and I haven't really had much to talk to. Today, I accidentally exposed some of my strength in the fierce battle with those people. I have to change places again." Xiao Chen was startled. "That dragon pattern cauldron, could it be that you also stole it from the dragon tribe?" Jiang He chuckled awkwardly. Sort of. Dragging out his words, Jiang He solemnly said, "I didn't lie to you about that story. The dragon pattern cauldron was indeed used by the Lancet Blade. Otherwise, I wouldn't have stolen such an ordinary cauldron. As expected, he had guessed correctly. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. The lancet blade, is the lancet blade really that famous? Jiang He said seriously, that is natural. The lancet blade is an outstanding talent of the white dragon race. He has a pure bloodline, reaching rank 7 and above. No one knew about him in the first 30 years. However, the moment he appeared, he shook the entire dragon race. Now, he is one of the 10 most talented people of the dragon race's 6 bloodlines. Note, the entire dragon race's 6 bloodlines. The lancet blade of the white dragon race. No one knew about him in the first 30 years. However, after he appeared, he shook the entire dragon race. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat, and his body stiffened slightly. He asked uncertainly, is the lancet blade a man or a woman? A woman? What's wrong? The title of the lancet blade comes from her name, Lu Ryue. She is an absolute beauty. Her smile is very flirtatious. Many outstanding talents of the dragon race are interested in her. Unfortunately, for some reason, she even rejected the pursuit of the noble dragon god crown prince. Jiang He spoke tirelessly, engrossed in his story. However, he did not notice that Xiao Chen appeared distracted and his expression changed. Jiang He muttered to himself, I really don't know what the reason is. Is it because she has high standards, or is it because she has devoted herself to the martial Tao and does not want to get involved in relationships for now? Xiao Chen did his best to calm his emotions. Then he asked softly, how is she doing? An outstanding talent with a boundless future. She is very flirtatious, and everyone revolves around her. Even the dragon god crown prince is infatuated with her. Didn't you say that before? Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. Then he asked sullenly, Dragon God Crown Prince, is there really a dragon god? Jiang He smiled and explained casually, that is how it is. He is just the son of the current dragon emperor. However, given his status, it is not too much to call him the Dragon God Crown Prince. Oh, it seems like I have said too much. This matter has gone too far. In any case, the lancet blade has no relationship with you. There is no point in saying so much. No relationship? Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not say anything more. He looked at Jiang He and said, if I guessed right, you should be a member of the dragon race, right? Tell me about it. Stealing a cauldron that the lancet blade used should not be a heavy crime. What exactly did you steal to make you so nervous? Jiang He's smile did not fade. However, the expression in his eyes was no longer as casual as before. He said seriously, you don't have to worry about that. Actually, a large part of the reason I got close to you at the start was because you were an expert sent by the dragon race. I thought that you were an expert sent by the dragon clan. However, from the looks of it now, I can dispel my worries. Although you have the dragon race's bloodline, it is too thin. Furthermore, you are not from any of the 6 bloodlines. It can only be a coincidence. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. It looked like the other party really had a dragon race treasure on him. It was worth taking the risk. However, Xiao Chen could not bring himself to attack someone he had just fought with. Furthermore, this Jiang He did not reveal himself. However, that stunning saber strike at the end was frighteningly mighty. This is probably the state that senior brother Yi Zifeng mentioned. Xiao Chen held a Dao tool and 2 Mahamaya abstinence violation saber techniques. Even so, he might not be able to take down the other party easily. Who knew what other trump cards the other party had? Xiao Chen tossed a small jade bottle over. Before I leave, here's a gift for you. Jiang He casually caught it and joked, what is it? Could it be poison? 50 kilograms of life juice source. The next time we meet, I might not let you leave so easily. I'm not as simple as you think. The connection between me and the dragon race is deeper than you imagine. Letting me know that you have a dragon race treasure is not a smart move. Xiao Chen said with a calm expression and a normal tone. Xiao Chen was not interested in Jiang He. He was only interested in the dragon race treasure that Jiang He stole. As the last inheritor of the blue dragon bloodline, Xiao Chen had promised the old dragon horse and the others that he would become the dragon emperor and revive the blue dragon bloodline. Xiao Chen had promised the old dragon horse and the others that he would become the dragon emperor and revive the blue dragon bloodline. Whether Xiao Chen was willing or not, he could not feign indifference after learning about the dragon race's treasure. An ordinary man's wealth was his own ruin. Jiang He felt slightly stunned. Then he smiled and said, "That's right. I did not notice earlier that you would rather draw your Dao tool and fight bitterly. Even so, you are not willing to reveal your great desolate Ian bloodline before me. It looks like there really is something more to it. However, you should rejoice that you did not rashly attack me. Otherwise..." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "No one knows what the result will be. However, I am truly grateful to you for the information you told me earlier." Jiang He's eyes gleamed. He discovered that he could no longer figure out this person before him. Interesting. It looks like he really has a trump card to fight me. I'm leaving. I hope that we can meet again. Whether you attack or not, I am very happy to see you again. Goodbye. Jiang He laughed loudly. Then his figure flashed a few times, vanishing from Xiao Chen's sight. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "Interesting person." Honestly speaking, aside from the fact that Jiang He had a great treasure, this person was indeed worth befriending. After the smile faded, Xiao Chen's face turned sorrowful. He had not expected to learn about Lu Riyue under such circumstances. She was an outstanding talent with all sorts of charm. Even the dragon god crown prince was captivated by her. Xiao Chen took out the dragon pattern cauldron and placed it in it. As he looked at the dragon pattern cauldron that Lu Riyue once used, many things of the past flashed through his mind. After a while, Xiao Chen's gaze turned resolute. As he looked at the saber in his hand, he muttered, "From today on, I will officially call you Sun Yu." Chapter 1721. After a long time, Xiao Chen put away the dragon pattern cauldron. Then, he entered deep thought as he looked at the flower basket in his hand. The exterior of the flower basket was exquisite, adorned with all sorts of flowers. Aside from its pretty appearance, there was nothing special about it. However, when Xiao Chen saw the wonders of the flower basket in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion, he naturally would not treat it as an ordinary flower basket. However, it seemed that its miraculous effect was only a decoration. It looked incredibly gorgeous, filled with flowers and powerful sword dances. These were all things that tempted profligates to throw money at. Some looked impressive, but they were useless. If they were really useful, Jiang He would not have casually tossed them to Xiao Chen. Could there be spirit jades in there? I better not think about it. Even if there were, Jiang He would have taken them all. Why would he leave them for me? Never mind, I should refine it first. No matter what, it is a Dao tool after all. When Xiao Chen sent his spiritual sense into the flower basket, he immediately felt the world spin around him as if he had entered a maze. Countless exquisite screens were placed in the middle, crisscrossing and looking incredibly complicated. No matter how Xiao Chen tried, he could not get out, completely trapped inside. After some thought, Xiao Chen increased the strength of his spiritual sense and sent in some soul energy. Xiao Chen prepared to force his way through. Rumble! Xiao Chen crashed into the screens, breaking one after another. However, the result was that he sank deeper and deeper. It was like there was no end to it. How troublesome! Xiao Chen lost his patience, and his spiritual sense directly exploded. Rumble! The entire maze shattered. The screens shattered into pieces like glass and floated in the air. Xiao Chen revealed a smile on his face. However, before his smile could spread out, it froze. With a whoosh, all the screen fragments reassembled, turning into a brand new maze that was even larger and more complicated. The more problematic thing was that Xiao Chen discovered that he could not pull out this portion of his spiritual sense. Xiao Chen was completely trapped inside. He could only escape if he severed it. However, this was Xiao Chen's spiritual sense, which involved soul energy. If he severed it, his soul would be affected. Damn it, this is bad. No wonder Jiang He was not greedy. It turned out that Xiao Chen already knew that unless he possessed the strength of a Cloud Sea Star Venerate, he would not be able to forcefully break out of this maze and obtain control over this flower basket. It was just a decoration in his hand, Completely useless. It couldn't even bring out those mysterious phenomena. What should he do? Xiao Chen fell into a dilemma. He could either sever his divine sense and accept his bad luck and suffer the damage to his soul. At the very least, his life wouldn't be in danger. Or he could continue walking and solve this maze. Hesitation was not Xiao Chen's character. He immediately made a decision. Xiao Chen cut off his spiritual sense and retreated. Face pale and dizzy, Xiao Chen's body swayed for a while. He closed his eyes and covered his head. After resting for a while, Xiao Chen barely regained some energy. However, the damage to his soul would require several days to recover. Looking at the flower basket, he smiled bitterly. Before Jiang He left, he had left a hole for himself. He was indeed a very interesting person. He seemed carefree and always had a smile on his face. In reality, he was extremely proud in his heart, unwilling to admit defeat. He was bold but careful. However, Xiao Chen did not hate Jiang He, not even close to hating Jiang He. The relationship between the two was more like that of opponents. Jiang He could sense the saber intent in Xiao Chen's body and confirm his identity as a bladesman. Jiang He was also present. He immediately saw through the saber intent that the other party hid. Before a true bladesman, that sharpness could not be hidden. When two true bladesmen fought, they would definitely have a competitive mentality. Neither would be willing to admit defeat. While the two did not seem to have any conflicts, in reality, they had clashed more than once. In the Soaring Dragon Pavilion, they could be considered to have fought once. Xiao Chen caused the other party to suffer a loss, and the other party even treated him to a drink. In the Smiling Daughter Pavilion, Jiang He stole the fairy basket without anyone noticing, turning the tables on Xiao Chen. Earlier, when the two fought the three, they had purposely held back, wanting to see who would reveal their true trump card in the end. However, neither of them revealed their trump cards, so it was a draw. Like you, I also look forward to meeting you again, whether I attack you or not. A smile appeared on Xiao Chen's face. Then he put away the fairy basket and returned to the city to look for Lingyu. In the Smiling Daughter Pavilion, when Xiao Chen returned, the place was already deserted, no longer as bustling as before. Xiao Chen, who knew the reason, was not surprised. After reporting, he found Lingyu happily drinking tea in a private room. "Martial uncle, why are you back?" When Lingyu saw Xiao Chen, he felt greatly startled. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "After escaping that group of people, I was afraid that you would worry about me, so I came back to meet you and say goodbye." "Goodbye?" Lingyu felt somewhat shocked. "Martial uncle, you are not returning to the Purple Flame sect?" Xiao Chen nodded. "That's right. I plan to remain in the Soaring Dragon Great Realm for a while before returning to the Grave Sea." "How long?" "Maybe half a year, maybe 1 year." Lingyu felt disappointed. However, he understood. His martial uncle's cultivation had reached a bottleneck. It was time for him to go out on experiential training. Furthermore, this Soaring Dragon Great Realm was filled with experts. The truly incredible people of the dozens of astral zones were all here. With martial uncle's strength, this was the most suitable place for experiential training. The Grave Sea was rather small. Lingyu thought of something, and his expression changed slightly. "Oh right, martial uncle, something major happened in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion." "What major matter?" Xiao Chen asked despite knowing the answer. Lingyu whispered, "Their fairy basket disappeared. That fairy basket is extremely precious. Without that flower basket, the Smiling Daughter Pavilion cannot continue operating. They need to wait for the headquarters to send a new fairy basket. However, the refinement of the fairy basket is extremely complicated. There are many steps and takes a long time. This Soaring Dragon City's Smiling Daughter Pavilion probably can't continue operating." Ripples appeared in Xiao Chen's heart, but he did not show it on his face. Unexpectedly, the matter blew up so much. However, it was impossible for Xiao Chen to hand over the fairy basket. Xiao Chen kept feeling that this fairy basket still had some mysteries and great value. In any case, it would not be traced back to him. Xiao Chen asked softly, "Are there any clues? Who stole it?" Lingyu shook her head and replied, "No. The person who did it did not leave any traces. This is simply strange. Right now, they suspect that a holy venerate did something to it. After all, this smiling daughter pavilion has a cloud sea star venerate guarding it. Xiao Chen smiled in his heart. This is a grave mistake. That fellow, Jiang He, could even steal the dragon race's treasure. Furthermore, the smiling daughter pavilion's fairy basket was a treasure of the dragon race. There were peak dragon race experts guarding it, at least sovereign personages. Sorry, there was some chaos in the smiling daughter pavilion, so I did not receive young Master Xiao personally. As Ling Yu spoke, headliner Ling Long walked in with an apologetic expression on her face. Xiao Chen felt embarrassed in his heart. Such sincerity made him feel somewhat embarrassed. However, he definitely could not expose himself now. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "It's fine. I heard from Ling Yu that Miss Ling Long has any plans." Ling Long smiled bitterly and replied, "What plans can I have? Naturally, I will return to the imperial capital. One cannot do as one pleases in the mundane world." When Ling Yu heard that, he could not help saying, "Miss Ling Long, how about returning to the Purple Flame sect with me? Given Miss Ling Long's talent, you can definitely become a true inheritor." When Xiao Chen heard that, he could not help thinking, she is already used to the bustling world. How can she endure loneliness? In the end, my little martial nephew is still young and does not understand the ways of the world. Ling Long did not deny that. Instead, she smiled at Ling Yu and said, "Thank you, young Master Ling, for your kind intentions. In the future, if I no longer have a place to stay in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion, I will definitely remember young Master Ling's words." Ling Yu smiled and said, "No problem. Earlier, Miss Ling Long made arrangements for me without hesitation. Naturally, Ling Yu will do as I say." Ling Long smiled faintly before saying, "I would like to speak with young Master Xiao alone." Ling Yu glanced at his martial uncle curiously before retreating as he was told. After Ling Yu left, Ling Long's expression changed slightly. Then she asked directly, "Your friend stole that fairy basket, right?" Xiao Chen's expression did not change, not revealing anything. He looked at Ling Long and asked, "Why do you say that?" "It is just a suspicion. The time he left was too coincidental. It happened to be when the fairy basket was stolen." Ling Long said sullenly, "Don't worry. I did not tell anyone. No one would believe that a major primal core venerate would steal the fairy basket." Xiao Chen felt surprised. But Ling Long replied softly, "To me, there is no loss. Furthermore, I sincerely treat young Master Xiao and young Master Ling as friends. I do not want the two of you to get into trouble." Xiao Chen felt warmth in his heart. No matter what, as long as Ling Long voiced her suspicions, the Smiling Daughter Pavilion would definitely question him. The Smiling Daughter Pavilion would definitely question him. That would be troublesome. "Many thanks." "You're welcome. If we are fated, we will meet again in the Yanwu dynasty's capital." Ling Long bowed and left. As Xiao Chen watched the other party leave, he entered deep thought. After Ling Yu entered, he asked, "Martial uncle, what did Miss Ling Long ask you?" Xiao Chen did not answer the question. "Do you like this girl?" Ling Yu immediately blushed. "Martial uncle, why do you ask that?" Xiao Chen smiled faintly and replied, "Because even a fool can tell that if you like her, you should marry her. Miss Ling Long is a good person." Chapter 1722. When Ling Yu heard Xiao Chen's words, he asked somewhat embarrassedly, "Martial uncle, can I?" That Miss Ling Long had seen many marquises and holy gate outstanding talents in the royal dynasty's capital, but none of them had moved her heart. "I'm just a core disciple of a small fourth-grade sect. How could I be worthy of her?" There was one more thing that Ling Long did not say. What was even more awkward was that although this Ling Long did not reveal herself, her cultivation was even higher than Ling Yu's. Xiao Chen said with a straight face, "How old are you?" "You're only in your 20s. Life is like a blank piece of paper, filled with endless possibilities. But if you don't even dare to think about it, then it's really impossible. How could senior brother have such a disciple?" Ling Yu felt somewhat powerless to argue. "Martial uncle, but Xiao said softly, "there are no buts or buts. If you don't have the determination, then give up on this thought as soon as possible. If you have the intention, why can't you set this as your goal? You can make your own decision." Everything about Ling Yu was good. However, he was somewhat indecisive and lacked boldness. His innate bloodline was not inferior to anyone. As long as he was willing to work hard, anything was possible in the future. Otherwise, why would Yi Zifeng accept him as his disciple? "Martial uncle, I've decided. I'll go see Miss Ling Long now and have her wait for me in the imperial capital for 5 years. If she gives me this chance, I will work hard and live up to the 5 years she gave me. If you don't give it to me, I'll give up on this thought." Ling Yu hesitated for a long time before finally making up his mind. He knew that his martial uncle was doing this for his sake. If one does not act decisively, one will fall into chaos. However, as Xiao watched Ling Yu turn around and leave, he smiled faintly. He did not believe that Ling Yu truly had the guts to say that to his face. However, he couldn't care too much about this matter. He could only wish him good luck. Indeed, it was as Xiao expected. When Ling Yu saw Ling Long in his hot-bloodedness, he was instantly defeated by one look from the other party. "Young Master Ling, why are you looking for me?" Ling Long blinked as she looked at Ling Yu with a serious expression. Ling Yu immediately calmed down, not daring to look straight at Xiao. However, he felt incredibly anxious in his heart. He did not know how to say the words that he had prepared many times. The words were at the tip of his tongue, but he couldn't say them. An awkward expression appeared on his face, and he did not know what to do. After holding it in for a long time, Ling Yu could not think of anything to say. Seeing that he had to say something, he racked his brains and said, "Miss Ling Long, I wish to learn the pipa from you." The moment Ling Yu said that, he showed an embarrassed expression. He wished that he could find a hole in the ground and hide in it. Ling Long's eyes widened. She was stunned for a moment before she burst into laughter. What kind of man would want to learn the pipa? Ling Yu immediately felt disappointed. He was still too much of a failure. Compared to his martial uncle, he was far inferior. He did not even have the courage to speak. But just as he was about to say his goodbyes, headliner Ling Long smiled and said, "However, the Smiling Daughter Pavilion is closed for this period. I happen to be free, so I will not rush to the imperial capital. Young Master Ling Yu, if you are interested, I can give you some guidance." This was simply joy falling from the sky. Ling Yu's wooden head was stunned for a moment before he reacted, feeling incredibly joyful. "Thank you, Miss Ling Long. I'll go buy a pipa now." Overjoyed, she ran out and told Xiao what had happened. She couldn't hide the smile on her face. Xiao did not know why Ling Yu was so happy. However, as long as his martial nephew was happy, that was enough. In that case, congratulations. You can stay in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion for this period. I'll find another place to cultivate for a while. Don't forget to cultivate as well. Xiao patted Ling Yu's shoulder and took his leave. After renting an independent courtyard in Heaven Dragon City, Xiao started his preparations to upgrade the Heavenly Flame. Xiao casually waved his hand, and the dragon pattern cauldron landed heavily on the ground. As he looked at the dragon pattern cauldron that Lu Riyue used, a determined expression flashed in Xiao eyes. The words that Xiao said to Ling Yu earlier were also meant for himself. If Xiao had not made up his mind, he would have given up now. "After making up my mind, I will never change it. As long as you are still around, I will not abandon you." Lu Riyue was an outstanding talent, charming and charming. The dragon god crown prince fell head over heels for her, but she remained unmoved. Lu Riyue's position in the dragon race put some pressure on Xiao. However, it also strengthened his resolve. He needed sufficient capital before he could enter the Central Great Realm and head to Ancestor Dragon City. If he was not strong enough, even if Lu Riyue did not abandon him, he would feel very uncomfortable. The pride in Xiao heart did not allow him to compromise. Xiao shook his head and tossed aside these distracting thoughts. Then he threw a palm strike, and the heavenly flame entered the cauldron. Boom! The heavenly flame burned fiercely. It seemed like Lu Ryue's face appeared in the flame, making one think about her and think about her. Xiao Chen exhaled softly. Then he placed the dazzling sunlight true flame into the cauldron. Whoosh! Although the dazzling sunlight true flame was of a high rank, it was much weaker than the heavenly flame. The dazzling sunlight true flame looked very mighty. However, it could not cause much of a stir before the heavenly flame. The dazzling sunlight true flame flopped around a few times before dying in the cauldron, slowly being swallowed up by the heavenly flame. Xiao Chen firmly controlled the heavenly flame with his mind, slowly swallowing the dazzling sunlight true flame. After half a day, the heavenly flame, which had been crying piteously for food, finished swallowing the dazzling sunlight true flame. The blazing heavenly flame gathered into one spot. Only a light came from the dragon pattern cauldron, shining golden and dazzling. Boom! Just as Xiao Chen felt suspicious, the spot of heavenly flame suddenly expanded and burned intensely. A terrifying heat wave surged out, and the air in the surroundings turned dry. The flowers, grass, and trees in the courtyard turned scorched yellow. The ground cracked, and cracks appeared. It's rank 1. Xiao Chen's face lit up in joy. The heavenly flame's origin flame finally broke free from its primitive state. Relying on the nourishment of the dazzling sunlight true flame, it reached the limits of rank 1. In that case, I'll add some more fire. Xiao Chen did not hesitate to send the purple thunder true flame from the purple thunder divine incantation into the cauldron. The electric flame gathered and turned into a beam of light that continuously poured into the cauldron. The rank 1 heavenly flame immediately blazed even more fiercely. In the dark night, a strand of golden radiance could be seen rushing into the sky, illuminating the surroundings and making everything bright. Fortunately, there were all sorts of strange things happening in Soaring Dragon City. Experts were everywhere. Occasionally, there would be some mysterious phenomena. For example, some outstanding talents cultivating in closed-door cultivation, some old monsters refining medicinal pills, and some experts refining weapons. The mysterious phenomena in the courtyard had not reached a world-shaking level yet, so it did not attract much attention. Xiao Chen lit up 5 stars on his 9-star primal core, looking resplendent. The purple thunder divine incantation circulated wildly, continuously draining his veritable essence energy, turning it into the purple thunder true flame and sending it into the cauldron. With Xiao Chen's vast cultivation, he managed to force the absorption of the purple thunder true flame into the cauldron for 1 hour. After that, there was a loud boom, and the flame in the cauldron shrank back to a spot. Having experienced this before, Xiao Chen did not dare to rest. He stretched out his hand and formed a barrier, preventing the heavenly flame from causing too much damage. Boom! In an instant, the barrier was burnt to a crisp by the explosion of heavenly fire. Everything that could burn in the courtyard started burning at the same time. The entire building started giving off smoke. When Xiao Chen saw the situation, he was startled. All the buildings had restrictions. If they were triggered, it would definitely cause a huge shock wave. Heavenly snow divine flame. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand, and a suffocating cold surged out, instantly sealing the heat waves in ice. Pure white snowflakes drifted down from the burning courtyard. In one breath of time, they turned into ice, filling the place with frost. It's rank 2 now. Xiao Chen muttered to himself as he looked at the heavenly flame in the cauldron. However, he did not show much joy on his face. Originally, Xiao Chen had expected to be able to break through to rank 3. Now, it looked like the heavenly snow divine flame completely suppressed the heavenly flame. Yin and Yang could not balance. He definitely could not form the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. In the end, it was all for naught. After withdrawing the heavenly flame, Xiao Chen frowned heavily. He entered deep thought and muttered, "It looks like I can only think of another way. Perhaps there would be such an opportunity in the Dragon Flame ancient land." The moment Xiao Chen heard the name, he knew that it had something to do with fire. However, there was no need to go now. There were more important things to do. The greatest use of the dragon pattern cauldron was not for the heavenly flame to consume flames. It was for Xiaoqun to cultivate the dragon race's body tempering cultivation technique. The divine dragon body tempering art that the blood-soaked dragon emperor gave Xiaoqun needed a good cauldron. A dragon race cauldron would be even better. Back when Xiaoqun bought the dragon pattern cauldron, one of his main considerations was to cultivate this divine dragon body tempering art. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.